Antonio. Yep, bringing him on. Welcome, folks, to the 40th Sea Monster live stream. This is your host, the Sea Monster, and we got Antonio or Poshi 4071 first. How you doing, good sir?
What's up? How are you doing?
Doing well. Doing well,
Uh,
mostly.
so, um, today we're going to talk about the first Jurassic World movie, huh?
Yeah. Lead up to the release of Rebirth.
Uh, gotta
Yeah.
say, I am kind of going to be kind of protective of this movie because, I mean, I, like many, have been very much excited back when it was coming, and because we have never had a Jurassic World Park movie, or at least we thought we were never going to get one. Here comes this fourth one, and you can bet your ass I was excited.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was pretty excited for this one when it came out as well. 10 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of fill a little bit of dead air here.
Oh yeah. By the way, thank you for your critique of my redesigns. I'm trying to get better at it. So thank you for your response.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Yeah, like they're definitely neat, really neat stuff you got there. Um, yeah, I definitely really liked how Megalon was sort of done. Like he kind of like has like the extra arms, kind of like a beetle. So we got another person coming up here. We got Mr. Lau.
What's
Hello.
up?
And with the steel chair.
Hi. Hi.
What's up?
How are y'all
Yeah.
doing?
Hey guys, before we get into this discussion, I gotta ask, what were your guys' thoughts on the very first trailer for we got for Jurassic World? Because I was also very excited, so I
Oh
want to know.
god, I don't remember that first trailer at all.
I can tell you if you want to. It reminded me of the new Jumanji movies, which is a good thing because those are really good adventure movies. And
Well, I don't know. We're
it gave
talking
me
about
that
the
feel.
first
Yeah,
Jurassic World. Not
yeah.
just to be clear.
He was comparing them to the Jumanji
Oh,
movies.
the first Jurassic World from the first trilogy, like Jurassic World, like this one.
Yeah,
I was
Yeah,
yes.
talking,
Yeah.
oof,
I was talking
yeah.
about
Sorry.
what your guys' thoughts on the first teaser trailer we got for Jurassic World, the first one.
Then I don't remember. Then
I
yeah,
don't
sorry, I don't remember.
I don't remember. The most I remember of the marketing campaign for this movie was the toys and figures and things. I
Did
remember
you?
specifically. I remember specifically the Lego sets. Actually, I was absolutely obsessed with Indominus, and especially the Indominus Rex Escape Lego set.
Speaking
My
of Indominus, did you all guys thought before we got the name to the Indominus that the white dinosaur was going to be like Giganotosaurus of this movie?
I was just getting into dinosaurs at that point, so I didn't really know much. Um, but yeah,
I
I
I didn't think much of it of like of the Indominus being like potentially a Giganotosaurus because the trailer kind of already stated that it was like a genetically modified hybrid. So it's like, oh, so it's pretty much not going to be a real dinosaur anyways, even if it kind of vaguely resembles one in parts.
Mhm.
I'm asking this because it reminded me of a lot of Carnodontosaurids or Allosaurids, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so how y'all doing?
Good.
I'm buying some water so I can go out while we're talking. So yeah, I'm going to mute myself for a little bit while I pay for it and all of that. But fine.
All right.
As for
I'm doing
me,
fine. By the way, if you hear any background noise, that is either my family getting breakfast. I've already gotten breakfast, or my brother who's watching Formula One right now.
Ah. All right.
Is
as
the
for
fastest car winning?
so yeah, as for me and my family yesterday made a strawberry cake.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, I watched a movie with the actor who played the Obi-Wan Kenobi and the guy who played the hunter who from the second Jurassic Park movie.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah. I wanted to rewatch Jurassic World yesterday, but I was working very late. So,
Ah.
yeah. And by the
Yeah.
time I got home, I was a bit oof.
Yeah. That happens to all of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Anyways.
if the anime is gonna show up.
I pretty much sent him the link in case he wanted to come on, and as I could tell, he has seen it. So the link. So pretty much maybe on in a bit.
Mhm.
I did rewatch it just yesterday, because, like, if I remember one thing is how I felt about this one in specific. Holy shit! Sorry about that noise. Like it came out of nowhere now. Yeah. Like, I'd say something and they decide to give like an announcement.
My lord.
Oh. G5 says, I personally hate this film. From the woman outrunning a T Rex on heels, just so we're clear, to a hybrid that looks virtually identical to the Rudy from the third Ice Age film. You know, I remember,
Hey,
like,
that's not a lie.
That
here's the thing.
Not
I've only
wrong.
seen the first two Ice Age movies, like, in full. And I think I remember, like, in school at one point, like, the third one being put on, but never really saw the whole thing of that. So,
the Rudy comparison I only get at a surface level glance because they're both functionally very different characters.
What about the
It's
Statosaurus
only like
comparison?
a white
All it
evil
is,
dinosaur.
all it
That's all.
really is a genetically modified hybrid versus a baryonyx with albinoism. That's it. That's
What about
the
the
comparison.
Statosaurus comparisons?
What?
I was gonna say what about the Statosaurus comparisons?
That feels a little bit more in line, considering they're both meant to be considering they're more meant to be semi-spec evo, though in opposite ends. I still don't understand the comparison. Indominus, actually, I think we could jump right into it. Indominus
yeah.
to me, Indominus to me works because of the fact that it looks like a ghost. It's white. It's basically invisible. It allows the camouflage, and it looks like what people perceived dinosaurs to be like. Monsters. These unwavering.
Ironically, thanks to Jurassic Park.
Yeah. It's exactly what people viewed these creatures to be like. That's part of the major theme of Jurassic World. What if the park actually did happen? Well, if the park actually did happen, then people would then with genetic engineering being a thing, people would start going into that route, and they would want to make something a bit more enticing. Yes, I understand why people have issue with the whole people aren't impressed by a dinosaur anymore. especially considering the context around the original film. I do agree that is a stupid plot point, but it also kind of makes sense.
That's one of the main things I wanted to say. Like, that's one of the biggest criticisms that a lot of boomers had for the movie, and it's like, yeah, but dude, like, how do I say this? In the 80s, you gave one of these guys like a mobile game from nowadays, and they'll play it for years. Now you give that thing to a kid that grows up with it, and they're going to get bored in 3 months. Like, it's not unrealistic.
Yeah, it's
the main thing
shortening, and even then, they're basing it off of like customer retention, which isn't everybody there. Maybe it's a narrow-minded, albeit cynical mindset. I will address the cynicism later down the line because I have something to say related to the whole argument of Jurassic World being cynical. Oh, hi, Animus.
Hello.
What's up?
But like with the whole dinosaurs aren't impressive thing, of course they'd want to make something that retains to what the audience perceives dinosaurs to be. What do the audience believe dinosaurs to be? Especially in a world where dinosaurs themselves have been revived and have proven to be dangerous monsters.
I think the main thing that I guess boomers, as you say, kind of take issue with like what the film was trying to say about, people aren't impressed by dinosaurs anymore. Like when the film has like certain scenes that are devoted to showing how still impressed people are by dinosaurs, like with the mosasaur scene or kids like hanging out with baby dinos. And I guess it's like a commentary of like the irony of like how like sort of like corporations like think that they know what the audiences want, but really
there are still moments of awe even after the Indominus has been introduced, and we get an idea of Jurassic World's mentality and Claire's general mentality as it's running the operations. I will get to Claire later down the line because I have things to say about the humans.
Okay.
So, do you guys think the Indoraptor is just a big raptor, as nostalgia critics put it?
Yes.
You mean the Indominus?
The
Indominus. Okay. Indominus I want to circle back to, actually, because it's like monster. Yeah, it's a monster. And that backfires. That's why you need to pay attention to the whole thing. That's part of Claire's entire arc.
But do you think it's just a big raptor?
No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
Like nostalgia critic is not like a real critic, to be fair. Like he's like a half-ass comedian.
Yeah, one sec. I am going to pull up Indominus's design so we can like look at this. One sec.
Anyways, while you're doing that, so Animus, what would be your 2 cents on the first Jurassic World? Because we're talking about that today.
Good idea, badly executed.
Even the Indominus?
Especially the Indominus.
I disagree.
Just the bare and simple idea that a corporation wants to make something that will entice more people to come and see it, and then designs I was going to say monster, creature, animal, that it can turn invisible to the point where nobody can find it. It's like, what is the point of that? It's not even like a really well camouflaged animal that you hey guys, the Indominus Rex is in here. It's really good at camouflaging. Can you find it? If you do, you'll get a prize or points or whatever. And you get all the kids looking and hey, I think I see it over there. It's over there. And then finally someone points it out and it's there it is. No, this thing can just turn invisible. Full stop. You can't see it. What is the point of coming to see something that you can't see?
That they didn't know that they were making.
Oh, that was a good idea.
That was a side effect. That's part of it backfiring.
Yeah. That's part of the theme, actually. Not understanding something.
See, Monster, I have the thing in the background, in the back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me pull it up here.
Yeah. The entire thing. No, this is not a raptor. No. Oh, God, no. Oh, man. This thing.
It's the Stegosaurus Rex's cousin.
I wouldn't even compare that to the Statosaurus, because, like, if I.
Oh,
The Statosar. Oh, wait. Statosaurus Rex images. Like, you can compare that here. One sec. Open image in new tab. X. There we go. I don't see it.
I mean, unless you count the big teeth.
Okay, but like that's a general thing with theropods of this size.
yeah.
What are we looking at?
We're looking at the designs in comparison.
Yeah, we're comparing the Indominus design to the. I'm guessing this is the V-Rex from Peter Jackson's King Kong.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I don't see it. I don't see how these two are cousins in any way.
Yeah, no. Like the most you could say, like, well, maybe the teeth, but even then, it's like even then, that's a stretch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess like there's some logistics in the movie that are kind of questionable in terms of like just like I get the Indominus is supposed to be smarter than your average dino, and it's supposed and the people like underestimate it, but what boggles the mind is like why would Claire like not make the phone call until why would Claire like make the phone call after she left as opposed to before she leaves? Like so that just in case it's still in there.
Is it not possible that she started calling as she was making her way to acid containment unit? Like the second she leaves, she pulls out her phone, starts the car, and starts calling people.
Therein lies the problem. You're like, you need to locate this thing as soon as possible. And she has a mobile phone, so just pull the fucker out of her pocket.
I wouldn't even say that. That's not the stupidest thing in that scene. The problem is that someone went in the fucking cage. If she had actually made the call on her car, everything would be fine.
She was actually doing her job. She was heading to the control center whilst calling the control center to make sure things are going, to make sure that she's seeing what's going on. The problem is people went inside.
Exactly, that's the thing.
Like, okay, I will.
The whole scene is just really bad.
Yeah,
because here's the thing: how does the Indominus know that she's located by heat? So she knows she has a tracker, and apparently she understands what a tracker is, which is fucking stupid. But I think it's because the line is she remembers where they put it, and it's like, okay, you can remember that someone put something in you, but you are not supposed to know that that's a tracker because a dinosaur doesn't know what tracking is. A dinosaur doesn't know what a GPS is. A dinosaur doesn't. What the fuck do you want? Okay, sorry. Some moron was like. Sorry.
Okay,
before you get run over, why did you? There's also the question of why would it put it out then rather than any other moment? Like, if it knew it was in there and didn't want it in there and suspecting it did something that you just can't have that. You can't have the dinosaur understanding tracking, but like satellite tracking, you just can't. So at which point it's like, okay, it just doesn't like it and doesn't want it in there. So why didn't it put it out earlier?
Maybe it doesn't understand that it's a tracker, but it understands that something inside of it is maybe it's causing irritability, considering the tracker itself beeps. Like,
well, again, why would it Why would it not put it out sooner?
Because it didn't need to. Maybe like as the thing escapes, the thing
That's what
started.
it needed to put it out so that they couldn't track it, but then it needs to understand that that thing is a tracker, which it can't because there's nothing in the animal kingdom like that, especially not in this specific animal kingdom. There is nothing, there is no comparison, no natural comparison to make. So as soon as you rule out tracking, you've then just got to put in, okay, it was irritated by it. In which case, why didn't it pull it out years earlier?
Fair point.
I mean, I guess like
Maybe
if it was
a line in
supposed to
there
do it.
like this is like the sixth time she's done it or something.
Oh yeah,
But
that's
no,
right.
they
I was
didn't
about to
think
say,
of that.
like, what if the thing was just like they tried to get it out before, like the thing just pulls it out, pulls the tracker out, and then they have to put a new one in, and it's just like a cycle, I guess.
Yeah, basically, it's the whole Indominus Rex thing. Is just there's so many problems with it. It, like I said, it's a good idea of having a corporation who is so like monetarily minded. So I don't know if I said this before on stream or not. The British Museum, like the Natural History Museum, with the Brontosaurus skeleton in it, which I think has now been replaced by the whale skeleton. Um, the museum, you'd think that that would go out of business so quickly, but but it's been stated that people will visit the museum 3 times in their life: once as a child, once as a parent, and once as a grandparent. And with enough people, that will be a constant stream of visitors. And the same thing will happen. Same thing happens with zoos. Same things will absolutely happen with a dinosaur park, even on an island in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, even though the company is saying, "Oh, people are bored of dinosaurs," they wouldn't be. That's stupid. But that's a commentary on the corporation, and it clearly shows in the film people enjoying it. So yeah, the idea of them genetically engineering a stupidly overpowered creature to then entice people to come is just purely, yeah, commentary and big businesses. What they designed was stupid. The fact that it's intelligent enough to do some of the stuff that it does is also just stupid. And then the fact that it's able to talk to raptors, that has all sorts of problems with it.
Yeah, yeah. It
I
just makes you
don't-
wonder, like, why would Masrani like not like keep like a closer eye on Henry Wu and company, like when they're like
Because he's shown
designing
to
this
be.
thing.
I'll get to Masrani here. Because Masrani is shown to be far more chillaxed in comparison to someone like Hammond. While he does care about Hammond and his legacy, he's less about, like, we see this in the opening dialogue with Claire. Like, enough about cost. How are the animals doing? Are the guests having fun? All that kind of thing. He's shown to not really care about the behind the scenes, and then that goes to his detriment, especially considering the discussion with Henry Wu in that sequence. You didn't ask for realism, you asked for more teeth.
Yeah, and also like that reflects a little bit on real life, because and this is not like to get political or anything, but like remember when Elon Musk made the Cybertruck and he was like, oh yeah, it's like bulletproof and all of this shit, and then it failed with him right in front of it, and it was like super humiliating. Well, that wouldn't have happened if the guy spending millions or like billions or I don't know how much in producing this thing had actually been there and made the tests beforehand, but he wasn't, because they just throw money at something and expect it to be done. They never really, check on it.
The thought never occurred to him, especially considering, like,
You cut out a bit there, Minecraft. What was that?
Minecraft, if you can hear me, the last thing you said was he never considered that, and then you cut off. So you can go from there if you want to.
Okay. He never considered the repercussions of what they would make. Half of the abilities were were complete side effects. The camouflage was not intentional. That was meant for thermoregulation. The heat signature, granted, I think that was intentional. The human intelligence, I believe there is some level of human intelligence, and that intelligence was not foreseen in any way, shape, or form. Most of this is backfiring. Most of this is stuff that wasn't meant to be, and that's part of, well, for one, the tragedy of Jurassic World, but also part of Masrani's character is him paying the price for his actions.
So, is it true that what Wu said about dinosaurs, that nothing in Jurassic World is natural?
Yes. That's something that the original Jurassic Park understood and that Jurassic World translates. Added onto by the fact of the designs, the other dinosaurs, which I actually do agree with on Natural History Channel. I kind of wish there was a bit more scientific accuracy in there, partially because while I understand that scientific accuracy should be ignored a lot for dinosaur movies, the original Jurassic Park did pride itself on being scientifically accurate for its time. So, yeah, I think there should have been a little bit more, even if it's just like sporadic feathers akin to what Jurassic Park 3 did with the raptors.
So you just wanted Mohawk raptors.
I didn't want Mohawk raptors. I would have been fine with that, but it's not what I would have wanted.
And I guess like another question in terms of like some aspects of the plot is kind of like the film doesn't really go too much into how like the status of the world in terms of like perception of a Jurassic Park type place, being opened up essentially, especially after the events of the first 3 films. Like, what is he like? How did the perception like change from like, okay, maybe opening up a theme park of dinosaurs isn't a good idea, and we shouldn't have like people like go on like any sort of like islands like Site B. Which is why like after the events of the Lost World, Site B was kind of considered to be restricted, by the time we get into Jurassic Park 3. But this film, it's like, oh nope, it turns out we just opened up a park and called Jurassic World, and it's been going on for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me question, how did they manage to like capture all the dinosaurs and put them in their place? Like, I kind of want to do like a prequel. Like, how did they do it?
Mm-hmm.
I would just like to know how people would even how did like certain like what was like public perception of like Jurassic World opening up in the first place was before it sort of happened. Like, why was it given the okay, especially when one of the earlier films literally had a T-Rex running around and rampaging in the mainland, and it was like for the intent of having a Jurassic Park on the mainland.
I don't think that's the fault of the movie. I don't think the whole perception thing is the fault of the movie. And even then, I'd say it tries with the one character. Forgot his name. It's the guy with the Jurassic Park t-shirt.
Jake Johnston. Well, that the actor's name. I know.
Yeah, Larry. That's his name.
Yeah. Okay, Larry.
It just reminded me of how the film ends.
In what way?
Just the Tyrannosaurus. I'm hearing myself.
See, you're echoing.
Uh oh. Yeah, all right, let me refresh. I'll be back in a sec. Yeah, give me.
All right.
The stream is ours.
So, Stianamis, I gotta ask, have you at least seen some redesigns I sent to you?
Sorry, say again?
Have you seen the redesigns I sent to you on Twitter?
Oh yes, I did see them. I do apologize. I'm very, busy at the minute. Basically, anything other than work is on hold at the minute. So, but yeah, I did see them. I haven't mean to get back to you on that. But yes, as I was saying, Sea Monster is just this terrible human being. I hear he does all sorts. Oh, he's back. Hi, how's it going?
Ah,
So anyways, Corking is the greatest protagonist ever.
uh,
yeah.
Oh, yes,
by
I
the
did want
way,
to do whilst I was here.
Animus, how's your GXK thing coming along?
It's on hold at the minute. Like I said, work has just been traumatic in terms of just the amount of stress it's been causing. I've actually booked off the next for 6 Mondays, I think, in a row, purely because I can't have a week off because my work is that important, but I need time off. So I'm having a bunch of 3-day weekends, which will hopefully give me enough time and energy to start working on it again. But I did find it interesting, like watching your GXK video, that there's quite a few points in there that I would have made, like the whole disappearing lava pool bit, obviously the whole bit. Thank you for the mention. The comparison between Kong and Scar King and the way they sat on their thrones, that I found quite. I found that fascinating that you noticed that as well. I go a bit more into it in my script in terms of just like the failed facsimile of power on Skarkin's part, in that you've got the original throne, which is this huge great thing on this huge great cave, and then Skarkin's is like this really badly chiseled out like copy of it. There's a real like he either was in power and then lost it all and then tried to sort of recreate it badly, or he was jealous of someone else's power and then tried to copy it to make people think that he was the new version of it. Either which way, there's probably one of the few things in the film where it's like there's clearly something here, or if it's either deliberate or accidental, but either way it's good. Shame about the rest of it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was rewatching the Up from the Depths stream that you used to see for the clips. Oh my, yeah. Oh god. Oh god. Animus, did you get around to that one actually? I'm curious.
No, I didn't. Haven't been watching much of any streams lately,
I
but
was
yeah.
asleep the entire time.
I did you get around to the second Groovy stream though, the retrospective.
Sorry, say again?
I saw you got around to the second stream, the retrospective one, because you commented on that.
Oh, the one where he said that English people don't like monster films or destruction films where they destroy British landmarks. The fuck stupid piss poor idea is that?
Yeah.
I really need to do my video on Garugli at some point.
Oh my god.
But yeah. So yeah, just saying GXK video, very good. What the hell was I talking about? Oh, the end of the film. Yes.
Here we go.
The reason it reminded me of the end of the film is because that character is like I think it's right after the Dominus Rex gets eaten by the mosasaur, and then you got the T-Rex and the Raptor sort of like talk,
Her name
quote
is
unquote.
Blue. Her name is Blue.
Blue, sure. Rexy or whatever. Anyway, they quote unquote communicate somehow and then agreed to go their separate ways. I'm not 100% sure that would be a thing, but let's just say it is. And then the other characters are just like, yep, everything's fine now. We can all go home. And then you just got that guy in the control room, just like with a big smile on his face, like pressing buttons to turn things off, like he's walking out the office to go home. You're like, I'm sorry, there's a Tyrannosaurus Rex on the loose.
And a Velociraptor.
I mean,
and a raptor.
I mean, you could say that after the fight, Rexy was exhausted, so she wanted to relax or something like that.
I was just about to say, like, neither. Honestly, after what both of them endured, I would imagine either of them would not be would not be interested in doing anything, considering they're both just tired.
Not only that, like it's super actually realistic. I feel, and this is not to be like, oh, Cinemus is talking bullshit, right? But I feel like if you watch the movie, a lot of people seem to somehow imagine that like the T-Rex nods at the raptor. That like they have like a like a little thing like with Godzilla and Kong in GBK,
Yeah, no,
and it's nothing
No,
like
they
that.
don't.
They just look at each other and they just walk away. I think it's super realistic,
they
actually,
do-
that if you have a tired
all
animal
they do
that's
is just
also
look at
hurt,
each other and then leave. That's it.
yeah, that's it. I feel that a lot of people who maybe haven't watched the movie lately do have that image, but that's mostly constructed by critics like, well, nostalgia critic and all of these other wannabe critics that are more like commentators.
Yeah, or like Double Toasted when they kind of like make jokes about how like Blue and Rexy like fist bumped after at the end or something like that. We're just like, yeah, homie, we did it.
And it's fine if people see it that way, by the way. Like it's fine if you want to think of it that way, so it's more fun for you or whatever. But at one point you have to differentiate what you want it to be or what you saw from what actually was on screen.
If anything, like Blue and Rex's interaction after the Indominus is defeated, it's kind of like maybe if anything more along the lines of like Bruce Willis and Ving Rhames, like their last interaction in Pulp Fiction, where they're like, "We cool? Yeah, we cool." It's like they just kind of leave. So,
especially considering they're both absolutely exhausted after what they just went through. They don't want,
Especially Rexy.
they don't want to do anything to kill each other.
Plus
Considering
Blue's
everything that happened.
And plus, Blue's siblings, they're like Blue's her siblings are all dead, and Rexy nearly died. So.
Yeah.
And Musa is having the
Blue
buffet of a lifetime.
Also, when I was talking about realism in nature, a lot of times people think, oh, like I want to see this bear and this wolf fight to the death and all of that. And it's really unclimatic because real animals just leave a lot of the time. Like if they can avoid a fight, they just do. So,
Meanwhile, Musa is having the buffet of a lifetime.
G5. If it was accurate, Rexy would kill the Indominus Rex due to the fact that it has the strongest bite force of any land predator. Indominus is part Rex DNA.
Also, Rexy is stronger
and it's
than
shown
Stu.
to be durable.
Also, Rexy is stronger than Stu.
Oh yeah, she's old. She's the one from the first movie.
Rexy is older in her age, as well as the fact that Indominus itself has proven to be incredibly durable in comparison to what Rexy could take. Like, it actually took some effort to injure Indominus.
She survived a rocket explosion, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't hit her directly, but still, like, the shockwave should have hurt her.
The thing was right next to her. It was like, that was functionally point blank.
Yeah, it was pretty much, it was only like a few inches from her, really, at most.
Okay, then maybe I saw it the wrong way. But like
anyway, like wrong.
Also, yeah, I watched it wrong. God damn it!
Also, they turned the animals into superheroes. No, they didn't. All they did was give them character, which has been a thing since the original movie.
And if they turned anyone into a superhero, it was only the Indominus. Because, let's be honest,
the Indominus was a hero. That thing just was a character.
No. I mean, because even if it's part of the themes, they did make her OP. Like, she can track. She can, turn basically invisible in the forest. She can regulate her heat to become invisible to the thing. She somehow knows what tracker is. Like they made her too OP. So I would say more like a villain. But Blue.
Yeah, but
Blue was normal.
Even then it makes thematic sense.
Exactly.
I take issue with people complaining that the dinosaurs themselves have been given character because they always have had that. Granted, the World movies took it to a larger extent, especially Fallen Kingdom and Dominion. We will get to that when we get to that.
We'll
when we
get to them.
those discussions.
We'll
What
get to
about,
them in the coming weeks.
What about
We'll get
other?
to them in due time.
What
But
about? I was trying to say, what about other movies like The Lost World or Jurassic Park 3?
even those
Exactly.
even those
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
examples.
Because you have the parents with the baby. You know.
You have the T-Rex, you have the T-Rex parents and how they act in comparison, and them having some level of character, especially in relation to how they treat the children.
And
You
Spinosaurus.
You have, I was gonna bring up the big one from the first Jurassic Park. You have the big one shown to be somewhat of a sadistic and obviously intelligent creature. Like the raptors, part of the reason the raptors are so terrifying is because they're smart. And we know this.
Yeah, there's like a brief.
Jurassic
Sorry, I'll
World
let you
expands
finish.
upon that by having a human figure out their smarts and learn to adapt to them. And even then, Jurassic World shows that they are still dangerous multiple times.
Yeah, like it like in the original Jurassic Park, when I'm guessing it's the big one, you know, that kind of like gets up. You know, like when she sees them, like Tim and Lex getting up, escaping from the kitchen, you know, like after they locked the other one in the freezer, like the big one just kind of like does this little sneer of like, "Oh, I'm gonna get your ass."
Yeah. I would also when it's like when it's about to kill, who's the hunter guy? Frick. Muldoon, thank you. Muldoon. When it's about to kill Muldoon, it actually pauses and in a way snickers before it kills him. Or like it bares its teeth before it kills him.
He's like, "Hey, I'm right here."
So what about
You're a fuck boy.
What about Spinosaurus?
Yeah, that one too. Like Spinosaurus did have like this. I think, you know, I feel like there's something that they failed to do with Indominus when I rewatched the movie yesterday. I feel like they should have made her look more curious, you know, like maybe toying with people or stuff like that, because they say that she's learning how she fits and all of that. And I just think that when the kids escape from her, it's a little bit unrealistic, you know, with how fast she is. So if they had just animated her in a way where she's, you know, like a bird, tilting her head, looking around, seeing how these little things, you know, like we're standing up straight, you know, like it's not like any other dinosaur. So it will be fun if you notice her, I don't know, having fun while she watches people run away. Yeah. And maybe that's how they escape, you know, a little bit more of that.
Granted, she's not. Yeah, granted, I think I half agree with that, but also I think it kind of works considering she's fast learning. Like we know that she's fast learning, so maybe that curiosity isn't needed. But also, we kind of see it in its own way with the gyrosphere attack, where
she's
trying to break.
She plays with it a little bit.
Yeah, she toys with the thing almost in a similar manner to Rexy with the Jeep in the first movie. It's like a toy to get to its food.
Yeah, like when she looks at them and then she rolls it over so that the kids are like facing her. She even does this instead of like started immediately biting into it. Like you could say like perhaps like her just doing the thing where she has like her middle claw like go into it first as like a way to test of like, okay, is like, can I just break this with my teeth? Yeah. Let me just do my claw first. Also, yes, I can. All right.
Even before that, we see that she's looking into the thing, like studying the food inside, trying to recognize that there's something inside of there. Okay, let me try and get it. Maybe it's not executed in the same way as. Sure, maybe it's not executed as well as the T-Rex, but it's still very much there.
So, Cinemas, have you had anything to say about like the dinos having personalities?
I'd have to watch the film again because I think I watched it once when it came out, and that was about it. I was so uninterested with it, but I suppose, yeah, I would have to watch it again before I give any kind of actual thought on the personalities part. I'm just remembering what I do remember from it. and what I do remember wasn't great.
Mhm.
You didn't even like the final battle.
It's one of those things. Is like, oh, I really like the idea of a raptor and a tyrannosaurus fighting some genetically like engineered super dino thing. Like, okay, so what's the super dino? Well, it's a combination of different animals which somehow turns it into this super dino. It's like pretty sure that's not how that would work, but okay, let's just allow that. How does the raptor get involved in the fight? Well, the rest of its family gets killed, so it jumps on. Okay, cool. That's one thing that actually kind of works. How does the Tyrannosaurus get involved? Well, this woman in high heels runs away from it, and for some reason, the Tyrannosaurus doesn't immediately kill her. And then instead of going for her, it goes for the super dino, and then has a team up with the raptor, and then they don't kill each other afterwards. It's
No.
There's so much explaining required for like just how that situation comes about, and the explaining doesn't. Yeah, I was just I'm not. I wasn't impressed with the film the first time I saw it, so I didn't bother watching it again. Would it
So,
improve if I watched it again? Possibly, but it would
so,
have to do quite a lot of work.
so, CMS, what are your thoughts on like T-Rex versus Spinosaurus fight?
T Rex
in
Spinosaurus.
in JP3.
In JP3.
Oh, oh God, that's been
It
a
was a
while.
fight that basically broke the fan base and made the films to like have a hiatus.
Well, that's because the fan base was a bunch of man children who couldn't take their favorite dinosaur getting fucked in the ass.
Yeah,
So that says more about the fans than it says about the movie. The movie wasn't good either, right? But
oh no, the movie.
mm,
Oh no, the movie was wow. Yeah, no, Jurassic Park 3 was a mess.
yeah,
I mean, I find it to be an
And all of
entertaining
that was
movie, but
because
it's
of
way
full behind the
goober.
scenes
It's,
stuff.
it's a huge goober movie for sure.
So,
it's not
CMS,
as bad
The
as
only reason
the.
it is a mess.
Yeah. No, continue,
The
continue.
the only the only reason Jurassic Park 3 is a mess is because of the behind the scenes. Nobody knew what
Yeah.
they were doing.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, even then, I feel like Jurassic Park 3 got the Spinosaurus right. Like what we're saying about the Indominus, I feel like the Spinosaurus did it more naturally. Like even when you see it staring at the humans from afar when they hear the cell phone ringing, right? Like
I'll remember that. Yeah.
That
yeah,
was
like
funny.
it's that's really like you see it and it's kind of like a curious thing. It's just analyzing them and then it goes after them. It's really like a horror movie when you have the Spinosaurus in. And
Yeah.
no, that's something that you cannot take away from Jurassic Park 3. Like that was really well done.
Yeah, that's the one thing people generally agree on with that movie. That the Spinosaurus was good.
and the
And
Pteranodon
the
scene.
act, yeah, actually that's what I was going to say. Also, like that part was, I think, one of the highlights of the entire franchise.
Yeah. Are we talking about the Pteranodons?
Yeah, with the mist, like when they're on the bridges and you hear something on the bridge starts vibrating, and suddenly you have this thing coming out of the
fog.
the mist, the fog, yeah. And also the design that they had was like super creepy too. So
Yeah.
it was really good.
Yeah, the Pteranodons were pretty much a standout in JP3. Speaking of which, not really a fan of the Jurassic World Pteranodon designs. If I'll be
Yeah.
honest, GP3
Me
did it
neither.
better. So, but I guess what do we want to say about that sequence where the Pteranodons like swarm the place? And of course, that one death that people think that the movie's sexist for reasons for having.
Did people really say that?
Wait,
It's
I don't
very
know.
over the
Well, I
top.
think it has something to do with the fact that it's Zara, the girl that that Claire kind of hired to keep an eye on Zach and the kids, pretty much.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
but
it's the
yeah, but
babysitter.
they call it sexist because it like the film like just went out of its way to show her like getting brutalized and then getting eaten up by the Mosasaurus.
So why the hell are you not complaining about the lawyer?
I think it's
the
mainly
lawyer
just
from the first film.
And yeah, the lawyer in the first one, like he's
Yeah,
fucking
he died
begging
on the-
for his life. Basically, he's sobbing on the bathroom. He died on the toilet. That's sad. I would rather die like Sarah than die in the fucking toilet.
That's just
Just saying.
embarrassing.
I think that has
That's
just more to do with it. I think people have less.
If you're
I think
going-
people have less issue with Gennaro dying than they do with Zara dying because the fact that Gennaro maybe it had something to do with the fact that the T-Rex just kind of just chomped on him and just killed him quickly, whereas Zara just like she was like getting picked up and she was thrown around by pteranodons like over and over like for like a good chunk of for several moments, and then the Mosasaurus eats her and the pteranodon that's like trying to grab her last.
Yeah, but like let's be honest, like the actress had so much fun compared to Gennaro, at least, So like I would say that if she was fine with it, like then whatever, because people liked it. Like people were like, I know a lot of people that like that part, and they are like, I wish you had a little bit more of that, like in the franchise as a whole.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
think it was more cathartic for the lawyer to be killed because he ran away. He left the
Yeah, he left the
children to
kids.
die, basically.
Yeah, he left Tim and Lex in the car.
When he died, it was almost poetic justice that the Tyrannosaurus killed him instead of the children he left to basically as like a sacrifice to the Tyrannosaurus. Whereas with Jurassic World, the nanny did nothing wrong, and then she had a quite terrifying experience. And
she was hot. Also, like
I was
the most important
gonna
part.
But I reckon she had a really horrible death because she got swallowed whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, she drowned.
Along
She
with
wasn't
the
like killed. She
pteranodon.
probably drowned.
No, she didn't drown. She got boiled to death in the Mosasaurus' stomach.
Along with the pteranodon.
Yeah, you're right.
Or maybe like the force of the Mosasaurus slamming its jaws down, like maybe like you could hope maybe she died from that, like getting crushed. But even that,
Yeah, you can only hope. But yeah, it's either that or she got swallowed whole, alive, and then slowly got dissolved to death inside of its stomach.
Yeah, I think people just like seeing that the death is kind of more mean spirited than anything. I suppose, like for what I'm seeing in the chat.
I remember going into the film and people would talk about the fact that either you don't see many or there weren't any at all women dying in the Jurassic Park films. Getting in danger maybe, but you don't really see any women dying in any kind of way at all. And then Jurassic World comes along, and then suddenly this one woman gets absolutely brutalized to death, and it's like, wow, they were really making up for that, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean,
now that I think about it, if it was a dude, no one will be saying shit. Straight up.
Yeah. Like I don't take issue with Zara dying, like this badly, because the fact of like, well, could have been anybody could die horribly, in the case of a dinosaur outbreak or something like that.
Yeah,
like
we see this with a lot of other, like, she's not the only death in this movie. Obviously, the entire raptor sequence onwards is, oh god. And
not only that, she's not even the bloodiest that we've seen.
No,
I think
that's Hoskins. That's Hoskins. Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Wait, is the Hoskins just the one with the consignatus from the Lost World?
No, Hoskins is Vincent D'Onofrio in Jurassic World.
The guy in the world who wanted to, he was the guy who proposed to Owen the military raptor stuff.
Oh, speaking of military raptors, can we talk about that?
Yes, it's stupid.
Yeah. Payoff. Let's just talk about the Raptors, period, because I have things. I really don't mind the fact that the Raptors are trained, considering, for one, it
Charlie's
extends
the best girl. Charlie's the best girl.
Blue.
Charlie's a boy.
Aren't they all female?
Hey, don't assume her pronouns.
I know that. Well, I mean, we know that Blue and Delta are girls, So
okay.
What about
I've always just assumed that Charlie and Echo were boys. I guess.
I'm gonna look this up. Actually, no. We'll run with that. But yeah, the blue. But like the I don't mind this because for one, it kind of expands upon the fact that they're intelligent, and yet they're still portrayed as a dangerous animal. Like
Yeah.
even after establishing the fact that Owen is training them, we still see how things can go wrong, and we still see that these things are not something to be trusted. Owen is holding them back with Owen, when he's holding them back, he knows exactly what kind of danger they are. He's seen
And not only that, like, to be fair, like, the only problem with these Velociraptors comes in the other movies. This one did nothing wrong. The
Yeah,
way I
yeah.
see it, like,
Also-
it did nothing wrong.
Also,
Yeah,
the imprinting thing is consistent, considering that's a thing that Hammond does in the first movie. So, like, yeah, no shit. So yeah, no shit. If you're gonna tame a raptor, you may as well tame it from birth. Raise it yourself, imprint upon it,
It helps
so that
them
it
to
gains
trust
your
me.
trust.
Yeah. And there are several parts in the movie where all the raptors actually react to their names. For example, like when Blue is trying to kill, uh, what was the name of the black guy? The Chris Pratt's friend or companion in the whole like
Barry.
raptor operation?
Barry.
Barry?
Barry.
Very.
Oh god. One sec. Pardon the background noise.
Yeah. Yeah, Omar Sy is the actor's name, but the character is named Barry.
Did you know he was the voice of Hot Rod?
He was the voice of Hot Rod in Transformers 5. Yeah, that's true.
Oh. Oh, interesting.
Look.
Wait, Tom, did Jared say that you could go?
Oh, great.
Okay.
One sec. Pardon. Pardon.
On Earth.
So, TMF, what are your thoughts on Spinosaurus?
Spinosaurus. Again, haven't seen that film in a long time. It was an alright villain. And yeah, I do remember the controversy of him killing Tyrannosaurus, but yeah, he's an alright villain. I don't actually remember what happens to him in the end. That's how well I remember that film.
William H. Macy. He shoots he tries to distract the Spinosaurus so that his family don't get killed by it. There was like oil that kind of leaked out of the boat that they were on that the Spinosaurus sank. No, not oil, gasoline. And Alan shoots a flare at it. The flare bounces off the Spinosaurus, hits the water, and the water is like set ablaze, and the Spinosaurus just goes, "Ow, that hurt," and just leaves. Yeah, he just kind of leaves. That's it.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
Okay.
his last scene. It doesn't die or anything.
Yeah, a fire mildly scared him, and he left. I mean, there was like some burning on him, but I imagine he would just be like, okay, you know what? Screw this. You guys are crazy.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
out.
you burn the fucking water, you unholy creatures, and then it leaves. Because he was on the water when they burned everything. So like the confusion for that animal that must have been like cataclysmic. And then it dies, and then you have raptors. So yeah,
And the movie
regarding
just
like, yeah, it forgets about it.
But hey, at least he makes an appearance in Camp Cretaceous.
Yeah, he comes back. And we're getting in Jurassic World Rebirth, which okay. So now you're making it scientifically accurate.
yeah. So I guess we'll pretty much beg the question, like, because G5 saying, why would any military use raptors for deployment? The military doesn't use grizzly bears or lions for a good reason.
I don't know.
the closest you could
Something-
probably get to that sort of things, like if you had like trained dogs in the military, and I don't know if they use. I know they use trained dogs for like sniffer dogs for drugs and mines and
Yeah.
stuff. I don't
Yeah,
know if
more
they
so-
use like
They have used dogs in, I think, World War II, and they were made to blow up tanks. Bomb dogs, basically.
Oh yes, the good old hide under the tank and blow up with the bomb thing,
Yeah,
which
the
then
good old
went wrong
animal
when they started
abuse.
hiding underneath their own tanks.
Oh God.
Yeah,
So that's something that I actually thought about. Like they could have used an excuse. I don't think it would have been accurate or good enough. But if the characters had said that robotics are like one thing and all of that, but it's going to be a
Robot-
long time until they can be used for the military. So in the meantime, we want to use these things. I think that would have been like a good. And it's like, okay, like I'm already making excuses for like the thing, knowing that the tracker is a tracker, all of
Yeah.
that. So it's like if you say that, it's like fine, yeah. You want to use raptors until you can use robots? Fuck it, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's
or even then, it's potentially just misplaced. Even then, it could be potentially misplaced ignorance, considering it's like
But think of
maybe he doesn't
what was
realize
it,
how impractical it actually is in comparison to a robot, or how
well,
maybe
think of
they
it.
want to
The
use it as a
thing that I
piece of-
always remember is in Batman Begins when they're talking about the suit, and he's talking about, oh, this is a really high tech suit. It can stop bullets as long as it's not a certain caliber, not dead on. It's really excellent. Blah 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 blah. And he goes, "Wow, why aren't we using this on the flight in war and stuff?" And he's like, "Because the military doesn't want to spend so much on like soldiers." And it's that sort of mentality of, yeah, there's a cost sort of allowance, variable, whatever you want to call it, for like how much you're willing to spend on things that are inevitably going to be expendable, that will die. So the idea of having a pack of dogs, we got loads of dogs. As much as they're lovely and whatever, and you spend a lot of time training them, they are going to be expendable. Four of a kind animals, the only ones in the world, are going to be fucking priceless. Nobody in their right mind is going to send them out to war to be shot at. Nobody.
And
But
keep in mind, these aren't just four of a
unless-
kind animals. These are four velociraptors, like creatures that were once extinct, that millions and millions of dollars had to be poured into to just break to like
Exactly.
with genetic
I get
science to bring them
how
back.
I get that.
much
No,
money
no, no,
has
no,
been
no.
poured into them.
I get
and
that.
then the law side, like the laws apply to using them in the military. That will still take years until that gets approved. By then, you might as well just use robots.
I get that. However, if you breed enough of them, and train, if you set up a breeding program or something, and then you do the thing with Owen, like training soldiers and stuff like that, then you're onto something. Granted,
That's true, but again,
the
like the
logistics-
legal part
the
is going to
legal part
take a decade.
is the hampering thing, and even then, that's partially why I'd say like Hoskins was a little bit misplaced, and it's ultimately proven wrong when the Indoraptor is created, and that backfires. But we'll get to that when we get to that.
We'll get to that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but like that's not to say it's not out of the question, considering considering animals are already used in military tactics. It's not just dogs. Like World War One used slugs to detect mustard gas. There was a goat on the battlefield of World War One as well. That was straight up a general, I think. And there was a bear that was in the military at one point.
And don't forget
That wasn't. What are you talking about? Wojciech, the
Wojciech.
bear who carried bombs.
Yeah, that.
That he wasn't hand delivering the bombs to the enemy. He wasn't throwing them at them. He was just. They literally just had him as a mascot, who then ended up just helping the people load guns. He wasn't personally wearing power armor and beating the shit out of people.
Okay, but it's still a bear in the
So-
military. I
But
don't
he
care if you
wasn't
get it fighting,
fighting.
it's still a
We're
bear.
talking about raptors. They're
So-
smarter than a bear. They'll just be like, "Hey,
So-
what are you
Hey.
doing? I'm
So
not
you've got to
mascot."
spend all this time training
Can I say
raptors
something?
to pass the bullet.
Honestly,
as I
you
was saying-
probably could.
I mean, yes,
So
you
as I was-
could, but that's not what they're talking about in the film.
That doesn't mean you should.
So as I was saying, did
They
you
were
know
so
that
so focused
soldiers
on what
used?
they could do. They forgot about what they shouldn't, or whatever the bloody hell the quote is.
So as I
It's
was
so
saying, did you
well,
know that soldiers
you were so
used
focused on
mice
whether or not
for?
you could that you didn't stop to think about whether or not you should. That was the line.
Yes. Should we train raptors to haul garbage?
Can I say something, please?
Yeah, go
That's
ahead. Go ahead, Antonio.
So as I was saying, did you guys know that they use the mice for like stealth missions or something to indicate some enemies approaching by?
mm,
I'm gonna go with no.
Because a YouTuber by the name of Shinobi03 was talking about it when he was discussing about the Jurassic World movies and about how animals were used in wars, like elephants and other animals for that type of things like that.
yeah. So animal warfare is not new. If anything, it's died down, yes, but it is not new.
Animals
Again,
were used on the battlefield before effective replacements came in. So elephants were like quite well rare on the European front, obviously, but in other countries like India and not Africa, really. I don't remember, but definitely in India.
Carthage used them.
I mean, yeah, Carthage. Yeah, I suppose, yeah. But yeah, elephants were. They didn't make a huge impact on more modern warfare leading up to World War One, and then, then tanks came in. At which point, yeah, they were redundant, and that's the thing. Is that animals are used until they become redundant. You don't then have something that could do the job of the animal better, but then use an animal instead because, and I can't actually think of a way to end that sentence. It's like because.
Hmm? Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
part of
mean, the
like
thing about the Raptors being military applications of Raptors, it's like yeah, it's like the Raptors like no more durable against like bullets or explosions than something like a dog or anything like that because like an RPG was enough to blow up. Was it Charlie? That was like one of the
Yes,
Raptors.
Charlie. Yes,
Yeah,
Charlie.
that blew up Charlie, and we even know that bullets can kill raptors from the opening scene of the original film when Muldoon is telling them to shoot that raptor that was going haywire. They just
Shoot her! Shoot
they gun
her!
her down. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, and it's not only that. Like in Jurassic Park, the first one, instead of having those stupid deer rifles, they had like an AK-47. Boom. That's it. The movie
yeah,
ends.
it's like we don't need to make assumptions about whether or not like modern weapons can like guns or grenades or rockets can kill velociraptors easier or not as easily as other animals because like we don't need to make assumptions because the proof is in the pudding from day one.
But sea monster, who would win? One Velociraptor or 100 men? Think about that one, huh? Huh? Now you don't know what to say. No,
I'm gonna
but
say 100.
Men.
I'm gonna say 100 men.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I'm gonna
No,
say
but
100
I
men because
mean,
it's not like they had 100 men in that team to chase the Indominus anyway. So
mind you,
if there was,
these are 100 men with only fists and no weapons against the one raptor.
they
Still,
probably
yeah.
would human ingenuity. Like we can, like they'll figure something out. They'll think of something.
If the goal is you have to kill the raptor or the raptor will eventually kill you, I'm pretty sure 100 men would just dogpile the bastard and beat it to death, even if some of them get killed. It's just
Yeah.
if you don't do this, you're going to die anyways. Like, okay, dogpile.
Have none of you
Okay,
guys watched Primal? Like people, like humans can think of ways to try to kill something if they don't have a gun.
Mhm. Which
okay,
is, I think, circling back to the theme of the whole original Jurassic Park thing with the whether or not you didn't stop to think about whether or not you didn't stop to think about whether or not you should. I think that's part of Hoskins' like whole downfall thing here, where it's like they didn't stop to think about whether or not they should do this. Granted, it's for a different reason, and yes, Granted, it's for a different reason, but still.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it'd be one thing if he was
Christ,
still.
the rationality.
Yeah, sorry if I kind of like was like talking to Bill that. I mean, like it was one thing if he pretty much thought that he could do this with the Raptors, but when he pretty much starts being like, oh hey, this Indominus Rex, we could just have that applied to military tech. It's like have you just forgotten everything that's happened up to that point throughout the day, like what this thing has done.
Especially considering Hoskins himself actually handles the thing horribly because he's irrational. He acts irrationally. He's shown to be in the wrong when it comes to, how he believes these things should be.
Yeah. I mean,
he doesn't view them as creatures, he views them as like weapons, if you will.
And yet he's still not the dumbest human villain in these movies, but we will get to that.
Oh boy, that's going to be a fun
He's still
one.
somehow not the worst. I mean, somehow.
Which one we talking? Fallen Kingdom or Dominion?
We'll let you decide. We will vote on your phones now. We'll find out, and you'll find out the answer soon enough.
Oh my lord!
Oh God!
The third film is so bad.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Fallen Kingdom is at least a guilty pleasure, but Jurassic World Dominion is gonna be a good one. Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Now one question. I mean, I don't know, like if there's anything else that needs to be said about the Raptor sort of plot there. So I know we talked a little bit about like how, oh hey, it was kind of neat to have Rexy back from the original Jurassic Park and team up with Blue to defeat the Indominus. But but there is like a little thing from the older movies that was like a detail that one can't necessarily be blamed for not remembering if it's been a while since they watched the movies, but considering that I had marathon through these films essentially, so I made a note of this, especially upon revisiting the original. Does anyone remember what the lysine contingency is?
Yes, I think.
Okay, so the lysine. It's been established since the original.
Yeah, I remember a channel that goes by Roanoke Gaming. Did an entire
wasn't it that
breakdown.
they needed a certain chemical or something?
Yeah.
All right. So Ray Arnold, Samuel L. Jackson's character from the original, he goes on to like explain like that Dr. Wu designed the genetic coding for the dinos in the original Jurassic Park to kind of lack like a certain metabolic enzyme called lysine. Without this steady flow of lysine, in their systems being administered by the by people in the park, the dinos would just end up going into a coma and die essentially. And like the reason why the coma wouldn't really happen immediately, which is why they just went ahead with shutting down restarting the systems anyways to get power back on, because by that point it could be too late for them. So for Hammond and company, I mean. The contingency was intended to keep the dinos from getting off the island somehow. In fact, The Lost World even kind of addressed this by explaining how the dinosaurs in Site B were able to get around and flourish because, the herbivores were able to eat plants that have lysine or food seeds and what have you, like soy and what have and so on. And the carnivores eat the herbivores that have ingested the lysine. And since Rexy is one of the dinos from the original park, it makes you wonder, were these dinos able to get that steady flow of lysine between the long gap of time between the events of the original film and when work on Jurassic World began?
I would say yes, because of the herds we see when we see the first Brachiosaurus. There's too many, and there's only one Tyrannosaurus, so I do think that it's possible for that to happen. I do want to say that. I see that a Tyrannosaur will need more lysine, though, so it could be a plot hole specifically for Rexy. that she survived.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of going with this. Is like,
honestly,
it's a bit
I
much.
think the fact that the Tyrannosaur is the actual dinosaur we see return from the original Jurassic Park that we know is from the original Jurassic Park would be it. And also, and even if we're actually no, we'll talk about Sora at a different time. But the fact that the Rex is the apex predator and the fact that there was significantly more food going around, I think would allow for the Rex to be justified in it being the only one around. Especially considering we even see that the Rex itself is not in good health. Like, even beyond its age, it's also very clearly emaciated and very clearly not not all that healthy.
I mean, look at how she looked in Dominion compared to her in the first Jurassic World movie, and you'll see the
Actually, no,
difference.
just compare how she looked in the first Jurassic World and the first Park. Like,
she does look really skinny. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so she was definitely far more hungry before all of this.
Well, I mean, if she would need like enough like lysine to be able to function, over those years, and keep in mind, hunting requires like being able to hunt like dinos like Gallimimus or so on. That requires a lot of energy. So,
yeah.
And the thing is, not all herbivores will have survived the lysine deficiency either. So
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Lysine contingency is designed so that none of the dinos on the original park could survive without it. Like, they were specifically genetically designed by Henry Wu for that to be the case. The contingency was done so that they wouldn't be able to get off the island without needing some lysine.
Yeah, so basically the only way for them to survive is that enough of them eat some seeds somehow, which first of all they will need to eat something that contains seeds, which probably the scientists wouldn't even allow them. But if they just so happen to eat some seeds and then they shit the seeds and then those turn into trees, then you will have one tree after like maybe a couple of months, like 2 or 3 trees that some herbivores are going to eat off. Hopefully they also eat the seed, like it's a really slow process. I think a lot of them will have died by then, now that you're saying that. Yeah, I think it's a plot hole. I think you can call it a plot hole. Like, it's super hard for them to do.
Yeah, it's like a very unfortunate plot hole because that funny thing enough didn't really need to be there, but they pretty much had to. It's like the writers kind of expected to not remember that because they want to be like, oh hey, look, it's Rexy from the original Jurassic Park. Remember her? She's back and she's about to team up with the new raptor to defeat this monster that's tearing up Jurassic World. And they don't expect it to remember that the lysine contingency was a thing since the original. They would just be like, oh, that's just exposition. Samuel L. Jackson was just talking out of his ass. Don't worry about it. Like, no.
So now we can call it racist too, instead of on top of sexist.
Well, I mean, I should just add the word allegedly. That's what the writers may be thinking. That's what their thought process was.
I'm joking.
I want to add that. Allegedly.
They're only racist in Minecraft.
Yeah.
But one thing that I did want to talk about, the Hispanic guy, I forgot his name, Hawkins? The one that's obsessed with making the Velociraptors like military resource. Hoskins.
He's not Hispanic. He's Vincent D'Onofrio he's Wilson Fisk from Daredevil.
I thought he was Hispanic. I'm sorry.
No, he's not.
Never mind. Okay, but Hoskins, he embodies basically, one of the themes, like all on his own, of like human hubris and all of this, like wanting to control something they don't understand, like not the part of the creation of like standing on the shoulders of giants, like this guy said in the first movie. He just wants to take from it, he doesn't want to create. He's not that part of the theme. He's only the exploitation. I wanted to say that I think that putting all of that into one character, it's really bad. I think it's a really bad idea because, like, first of all, you're already recycling themes, and I think that a progression of the themes from Jurassic Park is fine. Like, like the park is now working. Let's see how things develop. But he's just like a caricature. So, like, if you had to take the route of having had Jurassic World, or let's say that we're in an alternate reality where the next movie, the incoming one with Scarlett Johansson, could have been the one we got instead of Jurassic World. Would you have preferred something that was at least trying to explore the themes further, or would you rather have had something more, like just a straight up adventure film, like it seems we're going to get with this new one?
Not gonna lie, a part of me wish that we could go back to the more horror routes of the first two movies.
I guess it just kind of
Looking at the
depends on the
trailer for the.
execution.
Oh,
I'm sorry, you go ahead.
I was going to say, looking at the trailer for the one that's coming up, there does seem to be some significant horror factors involved, mainly with the whole Rancor Rex creature thing.
Distorted
But
effects. Distorted.
yep.
T-Rex.
But also there are some like shots of like the stuff with the Tyrannosaur and I can't remember the name of the flying ones, but them as well. There seems to be something
Geodons.
like something like fear, like a horror aspect to them as well. Not as hard edged as some of the aspects, but yeah, even them. So that's nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like it depends on the execution of like how you do a Jurassic Park film that's either a straight up adventure or that's not that doesn't really have any higher aspirations for thematics or what have you than what then other than just being relatively consistent with what came before, or a film that does thoroughly try to explore the thematics, like or some mix of the two. Like it's all just a matter of like how the writing is done, regardless of what ideas or what goals you have in mind for the project. And even then, just based up, just only going off the trailers for Rebirth, it's like it's hard to really say. Like there could be some deeper themes in there, or it could just be a movie that is mainly just about like people just going to an island full of dinosaurs that I guess you could say are rejects from what they initially had in mind, and they just try to extract some MacGuffin or something while evading them. On the while, you have like this especially horrific looking mutant dino that's just gonna menace them at several points.
Honestly, if they just get the writing done right, then everything else should fall into place. You can
Yeah.
extract themes from something that never had themes originally, but
Yeah.
you can't really justify themes that are applied to something that doesn't work.
Yeah, and that's kind of what
Cough, GXK cough.
I was gonna say, like maybe like the Last Jedi as an example.
All that. I mean, that is the
Or-
golden example, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Or Last of Us 2.
I did. Sorry.
Or Last of Us Part 2.
Oh God.
Oh, are you talking about the
Film.
game or the show or both?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, fair enough.
Is anyone? Okay. Is anyone watching it?
No.
No.
Cool. Okay. So that makes the second question redundant then. They ended it. I thought they were going to make like the whole game because part two of the game was just long and overdrawn and it went on way too long. So when they said that this was going to be a 7-episode series, I thought, oh, are they going to try and like compact that down and make it a bit tighter? No, they just ended it halfway through.
Yeah, I've kind of heard. I mean, considering that I know the controversies of surrounding Last of Us Part 2, the game, I pretty much figure like if they're just gonna do the game again, right down to those controversial plot points that happened in that game, in the show, it's just like, so you guys know for years at this point that Part 2 was infamous and despised for doing things that doing storytelling decisions that not only go against what that first game story was about, but also just kind of like just makes decisions that's maybe go, oh my, that was like a huge turnoff for people, and you just do it again, but not like maybe, but like with like so minute of difference to where the differences just don't really amount to anything really.
I don't know if you watch my videos on it, but they had stuff in there that I thought they had applied to make it better, or they were going to chop and change things up and change the order of things. And basically, they had all the stuff that they added into the series that wasn't in the game that was just, it was signposted for making things better. And then they fucked it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if what I heard, like the show kind of just kind of like had the events from the game, like both the Abby and the Ellie sides of the story, like just kind of have it told in chronological order as opposed to doing it out of order like what the game did, just to make Abby's story seem more palatable.
Not by much.
Not by much.
Not by
Okay.
much.
Ah.
But let's put it this way: the first episode was just like introducing the town of Jackson, and you have the bit where they have the fight in New Year's, and then it's basically the story of the game. I was so hoping that they would spend more time on building up to Joel rather than just like happening in the second episode. I even put it in my video on the first video was, I hope he doesn't just die in the second episode and then everybody hates the show and quits after that. And then it happened because of course it did.
Yeah,
It's such a bad decision.
Wait,
Yeah.
did Joel's death
I
happen
want to ask.
after the? I was gonna say, did Joel's death happen after the end of the episode or somewhere in the middle?
It started. His death started somewhere towards the middle,
Oh,
and then happened at the end.
Okay.
But it's the way they added something in to try and make it more believable. They yet somehow made it worse.
When you say believable, you mean the fact that he says his name and all of that? Like, like the stuff that Joel...
well, they tried, yeah. They had
Okay.
because they swapped Tommy out for Dina. So then when the zombies are attacking, Dina goes, Joel, what do we do, Joel? And then that basically informs Abby. But then they had the Battle of Jackson with the zombies attacking Jackson, which then diverts all the zombies that were chasing Joel and co. to then attack Jackson. But we have, again, I say it in my video, the zombies turn around, run down the mountain, across the valley, start attacking Jackson. Jackson fights back and lights them all up and starts shooting. Then they breach the walls and invade Jackson proper. And only then does Joel, who was just running away from them, notice that they're not following him.
Yeah.
They were following him, then did all of that. And like 10, 20, 50 minutes later, he turns around and goes, oh, wait, they're not following us anymore. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's really not great. And then they ended it with... And this is... No, go on.
So, Theonimus, what do you think is going to happen in Last of Us Part 3?
It's going to be Abby's story.
They finish where you were off, like the ending and stuff.
The ending is, do you know where they Oh god, he's even what? Do you know the actress for Abby isn't a muscle mummy in this. It's just she's actually really small, like
Yeah.
Ellie size small. So
Yeah, I
when
mean,
she takes out Tommy somehow, it's even less realistic. But the series 2 ends with the when Abby turns up at the theater and shoots Jesse.
Oh
That's the
my.
end of the series. And
That
then
that
she points
I
the
was fearing you will say that actually because I know what happens
yeah,
after that. Yeah.
because then it does exactly the same thing as the game. Jesse walks through the door. Abby 360 no scopes him, and then goes to shoot Ellie, and then it just hard cuts to Abby waking up, and we're doing her storyline, and it's exactly like the game, except with the game, it just continues, but with the series, the season, it just goes, and now we've hard cut back to Abby a couple of days previously, and that's the end of the series. That's the end of the season. Season 3 is going to be Abby's storyline. Aren't you really looking forward to that, guys? And you're like, no.
So
Ah,
so
Exactly the
they
problem with the
literally took
game.
the worst thing, the worst thing of the game, which was the pacing. Because the story, you can be mad about it and all of that, but I think that the pacing is what makes it a bad
Oh, the
game
pacing
when
is
it comes to the
awful.
narrative. Exactly, and they made it somehow worse. Well, that's an achievement.
They somehow did it worse. My whole thing was that they had all the flashbacks in the game to break up the gameplay because there wasn't really much in the way of like other stuff happening during the gameplay because they killed Joel off literally right at the start, and then the rest of the gameplay is Ellie going to kill people. They didn't have a lot of cutscenes to break up the gameplay, so they added in the flashbacks as like to break up the gameplay a little bit. But in the show, you don't have to do that. So they could have just had the flashbacks be right at the start or be even in continuity, but they didn't. They still had flashbacks. There's a whole episode which is just flashbacks. And like, why would you do that? Why? And then you were saying about the pacing in the middle. In the middle of them going to Seattle and trying to find Abby, they just have this bit where Dina. Oh, I see. Eddie gets bitten. Dina thinks she's going to die. Then it was real. Then basically she finds out that no, Ellie's not going to die from being bitten. Suddenly she says, "Oh, by the way, I'm pregnant," and then they fuck, and then they have a conversation about her being bi, and it's like, why are we spending time on this? This is bad enough as it is, filling it in with this bullshit.
Okay, when are we going to then go back to talking about Jurassic World?
Yes, please.
yeah.
I don't know why.
Let's go back.
let's go back. Let's go back to the other thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Someone.
about the
Shall we
Indominus being
discuss the
by.
main characters?
The
Yes, let's
humans.
carry on talking about how terrible women are. Let's do it.
Okay, can we
Oh,
talk about
God.
Owen Grady?
Okay.
I want to say that when it comes to Owen, I like him. I
Yeah.
think that since this movie didn't really go full retard when it comes to him being like a superhero for the Raptors, where he just raises a hand and they do whatever, like it shows that there's danger still.
Yeah.
And like
Oh, we're
the
gonna
action scenes
get
were really
to that.
good with him.
We're gonna
Yeah.
get to the whole superhero stuff because
Yeah. We'll get there. We'll hold on. We'll save that. We will save that. It's not yet.
Oh,
We won't
Jimmy.
get-
Don't worry, I
I
wasn't
have
going
words.
in depth with it. I'm just
Yeah,
mentioning
I mean-
that it is a fact, and some people might have it in mind when they think about this new trilogy.
Yeah, it's
But
like-
that's why I wanted to clarify. It's not really a problem in this movie. It's
No,
not
Yeah,
yet
it's
a
not-
problem. Like it's
Yeah,
just
it's
fine.
not a problem, or at the very least, it's significantly less of a problem than it is in the later two films. Let's just say we'll just leave it at that.
And when it comes to his dialogue, I do like it enough. There are some things that are problems with the story. For example, the tracker, and therefore you have the characters acknowledging that this thing is like super smart. Like the Indominus Rex basically has a mustache and it's like twirling it like all the time, like I'm gonna kill you, and so they have to regard that, like the characters have to react to that, but still I feel like like his dialogue tries to ground it. Like this thing is just trying to find where it fits. You made this monster, like I feel like it's not that heavy compared to, for example, Hopkins, or whatever his name was. I forgot again. Fisk. I'll call him Fisk. Hoskins. And I think it was a good change. Like I never imagined that Jurassic Park will have like this main guy action hero, basically. But I feel like for a new trilogy, it was a good way of starting it. And then his relationship with Claire, I also think it's very believable. Like they establish, like she's a control freak, and I like how she kind of changes a little bit by the end.
He's the catalyst of Claire's arc.
Exactly, they're a good duo, honestly.
Which makes sense considering his whole relationship with the Raptors is pretty much half of the story's essential quality.
Yeah,
it's like
he doesn't view the Raptors as numbers on like a board or something for for like how much money he's making.
That's part of what makes his reactions to Indominus believable. The fact that he actually understands at least one of these creatures on some level of intimacy, whereas Masrani is more so willing to throw it out as a chill group, and Claire is far more from a corporate lens. That's her entire arc. She's learning to understand these creatures and realize, oh, they're not numbers on a spreadsheet. These things are actually dangerous.
Yeah,
especially considering the fact that Indominus's whole thing backfires.
Yeah,
multiple times.
Yeah, and you have like the Apatosaurus scene that essentially is kind of like the push for Claire to kind of like understand Owen's point of view when he's just kind of nurturing the one that's dying, and she kind of goes like, shit, this is like these really are like, it's pretty much an effective moment, I would say, in terms of giving the characters that little push into like development, essentially. Well, especially at least Claire. I mean, Owen kind of like he already has this understanding about the dinosaurs just being like these like living beings that you need to kind of like that are worth understanding, essentially. In order to like not only give them like like a prosperous existence on the island, but also to like make sure that the park, turns out well. Like he has a more intimate understanding of them, whereas Claire is like very distant from that. And it's like not until this Apatosaurus scene where we really start to see, we really see her just kind of come around to his POV.
Yeah, and it's also partially adding to Claire's arc of caring for her and her nieces. Yeah. Also, hi Rooney in the chat.
Hey Rooney.
Hey Rooney. Also, I wanted to say the comedy between the two of them is like handled well. Like, you have the moment where he's like, "You're not going to help me with those stupid shoes," and she like just unbuttons her shirt a little bit, like, and it's like ready to go. Like, and he was like, "It doesn't work like that," like it's not like Marvel comedy, which the movie does do a little bit of near the end with Larry, to be fair. But I like that they abstain from doing that with the main duo, so we don't have to deal with stuff like that for most of the movie.
Yeah, it's a dynamic that in a way also, like, you get an idea of exactly who these two are just by their introductory sequences. Claire is going down an elevator talking to herself. Owen is dealing with the Raptors front and center, which, oh my god, yeah.
So there's so I think I have like I guess there's like another point to pretty much bring up. The kids. Let's talk about them for a bit.
Zach is awful. Zach sucks.
Yeah.
I don't
I'm
hate 'em.
kind of indifferent towards them, to be honest.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
What about you, Theonimus?
Honestly, I don't remember them.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. Yeah,
I would've- this isn't a
the
fault
most
of
that
the
you could
movie,
say is
but-
that it's kind of like it's one of those weird things where they kind of mentioned like that these two kids are having or their parents are going through a divorce, kind of like what like in the original Jurassic Park, when Gennaro's like meeting with like that one guy in the Dominican Republic that at an amber dig site, where they say like that Hammond's daughter, like she's going through a divorce and that's why she's sending Tim and Lex, the grandchildren, to Hammond to visit him at the park.
That's Hammond's daughter?
No.
She's the grandchildren.
Oh, in the first movie. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry if I'm not making that clear. Yeah, like in the original Jurassic Park, like Tim and Lex, their mother is going through a divorce, and so that's why they're sent to visit their grandpa, John Hammond, at the original Jurassic Park. And so now you have, whereas in Jurassic World, this first one, you have Zach and Gray. They're being sent to visit their aunt Claire while their parents are getting a divorce. It's one of those weird things where like it's like the writers paid attention to some details being mentioned through dialogue. Like the bits of exposition in the original Jurassic Park, but when it comes to something like the licensing contingency, they just kind of like, nope, don't worry about that.
And not only that, they paid attention to the scrapped concepts for the original story, which was a kid goes to a park with dinosaurs. Like the park already exists. Like that's what Michael Crichton wanted to write at first, but it was denied because it wasn't violent enough. So in a way, Jurassic World is kind of like the perfect sequel because it's like the story that he wanted to tell originally. Like I think it had a lot of potential.
Yeah, and not to mention the kid, Zach and Gray. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you continue.
Okay. Also, I will say Zach and Gray kind of go through like a bit of plot armor during like their encounter with the Indominus. Let me just say.
Yeah.
Like the Indominus is supposed to, like they're able to outrun this thing that just has full intent to kill them and just chase after them.
Yeah. Granted, we see like the Indominus isn't exactly the fastest thing on the planet, but it has reach, and also they're running through a forest, so it kind of has to meander through that. But also it's like, yeah. And as for the gyrosphere not immediately getting destroyed, we know that this thing can tank bullets, as seen with I think it's Jimmy Fallon actually.
Jimmy Fallon, yes.
Jimmy Fallon
does the demonstration. So, yeah.
And the kids overall are fine. Like they're not bad, as some people remember. I heard a lot of criticisms towards them, but I think that they're well written for like a preteen and a teen. Like it's believable. Like they do their job fine. They don't do much else.
Yeah, like they're fine
to relate to them.
Yeah, they're not terribly written as far as characters go. It's just kind of one of those things where I'm just like I'm kind of like about them. Like it's like they clearly are trying to do Tim and Lex, but it's just nowhere near as well done.
Well, actually, in that regard, I do want to say I don't feel like they were trying to do Tim and Lex. I do think that they were trying to do something different. It's just that it's not as special. That's the problem. Like it's lacking something. Like they need a little bit extra, and they just didn't know what to do with them. But like the little kid is like supposed to make you feel this awe for the park, and the older this corporate idea that like kids get bored of everything, and you're supposed to see that actually that's wrong. Like he's
Hey Monster,
He's looking at his
G5 just
phone.
said as a comment now about why is Mosaur so big.
I don't know. It just is. I don't.
Anything like that can come down to, can't remember the scientist's name now. Basically, them fucking with the DNA to make, oh, you want it with more teeth, or you want it to be more scaly, or you want it to be bigger. That is essentially like the coverall
Henry Wu.
excuse for any
Yeah.
alterations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo, yes, but how the hell did I forget Woo?
Yeah, he was in the original.
Yeah. Oh my god. Honestly, I'm running out of things to like say about this movie because
Actually, I do have another thing. So there is a point where Zach and Gray they stumble upon the ruins of the original Jurassic Park visitor center. That's been left abandoned, and it kind of has like plant life just overgrowing and surrounding the thing. Considering that park was left abandoned like that for 2 decades and some change, 22 years, we'll just say, because that's the type that got that gap of time between the original film and Jurassic World 1. Does it seem like that it's just that the plant life seems to be a bit too overgrown for that? Because for that amount of time, like 2 decades is a long time, but those plants look like they overgrew it as if like they've been growing for like 100 years or more. Like it seems like a bit much. Because I mean, you look at like something like Chernobyl as an example. I mean, like there is some overgrown plant life, but not to the point where the ruins of that city look like a jungle, really.
Yeah, but it's prehistoric plants, so they are bigger and they grow faster. That's why.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Also,
I don't know.
also there's a lot of there's a lot that goes into how whether something will get overgrown or not. Like the environment, like Chernobyl is like Eastern Europe. It's hardly like
Yeah,
the
like
most overgrown place in the world.
this is
It's
tropical.
regularly visited by scientists, so the fact that they'll probably try and keep things like clear so they can get through. This island is tropical, and plants will grow crazy. You don't know what they've done with the plant life. Again, just the coverall genetic bloody bars could be in there as well. Yeah, whether it's overgrown or not, it's acceptable. The thing
Yeah, I mean,
I really don't believe is the fact that the
The
car
fuel.
battery still worked.
And the fuel.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like the whole thing with the plants being overgrown to the extent that we see of it in that visitor center in this film, like it's not like a huge, like it's kind of more of a nitpick than anything. It's just kind of a weird. It's just kind of something to make me go.
Actually, here's a good comparison for you. Putting overgrowth in that visitor center to make it look like it's been there for a long time is just a visual indicator of look how like old and in the past this is. Whether it's
Yeah.
accurate or not, you get the idea of it. It's a similar sort of thing that GXK tries to do with having pterosaurs in the Hollow Earth and then having like big skeletons all over the place, make it look like an old and ancient place without realizing how bad that is.
Why is it so bad?
Because when you have it in other adventure films and like the hero walks into a cave and there's these big bones lying around, you go, okay, so a big animal died here. Maybe it was a buffalo, an elephant, maybe these are dinosaur bones, who knows? But when Kong, Monsterverse Kong, walks into a place and there are rib bones that dwarf him, that shouldn't be a thing. Like, what the hell kind of creature was that died?
That's
that
not a
left rib
kaiju,
bones
that's an
that
SCP.
big? That's a what?
yeah,
I said that's not a kaiju, that's an SCP. But never mind. Yeah. No, an SCP. Never mind. Like the joke is that like I had said it like 3 times. Ignore me. Ignore it.
Please explain your joke more.
No.
Wait, are
It's
you
not
talking
really
about
funny.
You
the?
don't know what an SCP is?
Oh,
The
SCP.
Also,
SCP
I,
Foundation?
I think the audio quality wasn't good enough, or my pronunciation kind of ruined it anyway. So yeah, but an SCP, it's complicated actually. Anything can be an SCP, so
The
I shouldn't have said
SCP
it.
Foundation. You know what? We could spend an entire stream just telling Animus what this is.
Yeah, it's too
Is that what
complex.
SCP is?
It's
we
basically
are hijacking the stream again.
a carton of milk could be technically an SCP. That's the thing. It's too broad. Never mind. If you're
It's
not
a
in
long
on it,
story. It's a
yeah, it's a long story.
very long story.
Very long story.
Yeah, something like that.
Like my dick.
We can make this an 11-hour stream. Go on.
Oh God.
I mean, to be fair, like, what else do we have to say? Well, actually, I wanted to ask you: is there any negative criticisms for Chris Pratt and the girl, Claire?
I don't really have any negatives. Like, I've already stated all my negatives. Like, mainly the dinosaur designs being like, yeah, I feel like they should have been more scientifically accurate considering Jurassic Park's legacy, but like, that's my biggest problem with the film.
What are you guys'
Hmm.
thoughts
Do
on the
remember-
CGI in this movie?
Visually, this film's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like the dinosaurs, they look good, or at least not too bad for the most part. But I've got to say, I'm not really like. There's some bits of green screen, like the one, like for example, like one bit where this girl's like announcing the Mosasaurus. Ugh, that green screen looks pretty rough. And honestly, I wish the color palette makes this movie look a bit too
Saturated?
pale. A little too desaturated a bit.
Oh, really? Maybe I saw it with my TV with a really weird setting, because, like, I think that the movie is really saturated, but also it's at the same time it's really cold. Like a really cold color palette, but it's still like the greens are really, really green. But again, maybe it was my TV.
Yeah, like the greens, like with the grass or what have you, like look really green, and other parts they kind of like the lighting just looks a bit has like a bit cold color to it, which it's a little. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, to be honest, especially when it's supposed to be a tropic environment. Like it's supposed to be like a little, like not, like it's supposed to be like I don't know.
So the thing is, the green is actually like a cold color. It's not really warm. Now, if you make green go a little bit yellow, of course you can add warmth to it. But there's a lot of green and blue in this movie, and those are cold temperature. That's why it happens. And also, there's a lot of darkness because you're like under the trees for a lot of this, so you don't really get all of that orangish yellow. Like, for example, when they're chasing the Indominus, it's mostly blue and green. So yeah, everything's really cold, even though it's tropical. But it's not really a problem. I think it's normal. Like when I go to this like huge park we have here in Portugal, I also noticed that like a couple of days ago. Like I need to put my sunglasses on, even with all the sun, to see warm colors because everything's so cold.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. What else? What else is there? All right. Yeah, I mean, pretty much for the most part. Where would we stand as far as this movie as being like this type of legacy sequel, sort of soft reboot thing that this movie and The Force Awakens kind of started, because this movie came out the same year as The Force Awakens, and they were both like monster hits, when they came out, and they started the whole thing of like, hey, let's just redo the first movie again, to kind of like do like a somewhat soft restart of something, like a franchise.
Well, first things first, this is significantly better than The Force Awakens, and by I said it previously, significant margin.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yo.
Hi, Vic.
Oh, yo.
Hello.
Nick, what do you got to
Yeah.
say about this coverage on Jurassic World so
Well,
far?
first thing I want to say is that I personally am a big fan of the movie. I really like it. I've always had a liking to it ever since it first came out. I like a lot of the stuff it does in the movie.
Yeah. Nice. Any inputs on the plot or how dinos were handled or anything about
I think the plot is rather nice. I like a lot of the story beats that happen in the movie and the characters as well.
Yeah, I mean, I could say that it's one of the better sequels in the Jurassic series, but I don't know. But even then, it's like, I definitely think that there are still some issues with the plot. Mainly kind of just involving like how the Indominus was able to escape, like we mentioned, and some details here and there of like how certain payoffs are kind of facilitated, if you will, that just like could have been much smoother. But it's not as as broken of a film as certain critics out there would like to have you believe.
It has a lot of little flaws that you can ignore if you're like in a good mood. It's nothing as bad as, for example, GXK, but like also we have been exposed to GXK, so maybe our defenses are really good. Like maybe that's why I'm not really mad at this film for doing some other things it does wrong. But yeah, no, I really like it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, is it?
You were saying?
Yeah. I have some studies. I'm going to leave eventually. So yeah. So do you have anything to say before you tell something?
I was gonna say I actually have some personal sentiment towards Jurassic World. This was one of 3 pieces of media to get me into prehistory. The other 2 being Disney's Dinosaur and Titanoboa Monster Snake, both of which are also really good. I don't understand the problem why people dislike Disney's Dinosaur. Like generally the film is well received, but like, wow. Yeah, and I agree with that, but still, but yeah, I still remember watching this movie in theaters and how like that felt, especially, and eventually I've grew love for Jurassic Park, becoming what is now my second favorite movie of all time. Condom was knocked down a couple places recently because of just how frustrating the discussions have gotten. But yeah.
Hey, before I leave, can I say something, Siamis? Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Before you go, I didn't get to probably ask you, but before I leave, can you at least tell me your final thoughts on my redesigns I sent to you? I really want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll look them up quickly. Send them on
I always sent you
messages.
I always sent you on Twitter, so yeah.
Hey.
Oh wow, there's a lot more than I remember. Well, there is a lot here. This might take a while to reply to, if I'm being honest. There's a lot here.
I mean, you can...
I'll just have to message you when I get round to it. If I'm honest, there's a lot in the messages.
Okay. This is my farewell to all you guys, and I don't know. See you on the next live stream, if you will.
Yeah,
dude.
Have a good one.
Adios.
See you later.
Bye.
Yep. We're fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to say about this thing.
Yeah, it's funny thing enough because it's a movie with these with thematics about did you kind of I don't know I don't know if we went much into the cynicism sort of argument or something like that about
Yeah, no, the cynicism argument. I was about to actually now I have stuff to talk about.
all right.
I would argue that Jurassic Park has always been somewhat cynical. But there's always been some level of cynicism in the original film due to the nature of its themes and story, where it's like, yeah, oh wait, dinosaurs are back. Where yeah, it's still willing to treat these creatures with a level of awe, and even then, I don't think Jurassic World is as cynical as people say. It is cynical. It has cynicism, especially with Claire's character, but Claire goes through an arc, and the dinosaurs themselves are still given a sense of wonder. Accurate or no, you still have the Mosasaurus sequence, you still have the gyrosphere sequence, you have the Apatosaurus, hell, you have the fact that the park is actually running.
Yeah, I mean, there is it'd be nice if there was if there was a few, maybe a couple more gaps filled in terms of how the park was sort of how the public even sort of felt about the park opening up in the first place, despite all the controversies surrounding events involving dinos from at least the first two films, because who knows if Jurassic Park 3 even had events that were documented there, considering it was some spur of the moment thing as opposed to a huge operation that happened there. But yeah, I can see that, how, the film is sort of dealing with, how corporations don't really, how there's a disconnect between what corporations think audiences pretty much want and what the audiences want, more or less. And the film is sort of trying to bring attention to that. Sort of, even if Universal is itself as a conglomerate, as a company that that makes billions of dollars on those Jurassic films, may or may not be aware of that sort of commentary. They're just wait, are they poking at us, or what's going on? Who are they poking at? What?
There's an interesting thing to consider, especially with the sequels in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely quite a bit about this movie that is worth discussing. Sorry, you go ahead.
We'll get to those. Oh Lord, we'll get to those.
Yeah, there's definitely elements in this film that you don't necessarily need to watch the first two, the later two films in order to sort of discuss in full, really. But it is going to be fun, kind of interesting when we look at the other two, when we cover the other two, how this film looks in retrospect, with the continuations in mind. But yeah.
Did you guys cover the sibling subplot and stuff?
Not too much. We said it was kind of basic. Most of us are indifferent. Something you want to add to it?
Well, personally, I've always felt it was pretty relatable to me. And it's one of the subplots that I've always just felt. I really like it. It was relatable to me, so I think it's good in that aspect. I like the little arc that the older brother goes through. I think was Zach his name?
Yeah, Zach.
Yeah. I think people dog on it too much because, personally, just for me, because it's so relatable to how I kind of grew up with my younger brother, and then eventually, I like how there's the sort of bonding moments between them.
Yeah, I mean, I think those two brothers you could almost see could almost be somewhat representative of sort of like I mentioned, the dichotomy between what audiences want out of something that's as much as spectacle-esque as seeing dinosaurs and what corporations think audiences want in regards to that. Where Zach kind of like is like on his phone for good for a chunk of the film, not really all that interested, while Gray is like super enthusiastic about it, and like he's just the sight of seeing the T-Rex or the Mosasaurus is enough to get him excited. So yeah, like there's that dichotomy between the two. Really.
Yeah. But even
Like,
then, he starts to come around because you can see, like, even with the Mosasaur, he starts to get excited.
Yeah, and you could say that maybe that's sort of like that almost seems to be somewhat of a parallel to kind of like how Claire kind of starts out, as being like sort of detached from sort of like the majesty, if you will, of dinosaurs, pretty much, in their presence essentially, and then later on coming around to be like, oh hey, it's like these things they're wondrous, or something like that.
There's a Doggysaurus on the background.
Oh no, the goat's back.
Oh,
They're always there. Always.
Did we talk about how awesome the fight was between the Indominus and T-Rex?
Actually, I think we kind of skipped that, didn't we? I mean, we talked about it in concept, but I heard that Cianmus was kind of indifferent because he didn't really like the movie at that point. I think that the choreography was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool set piece.
Honestly,
I mean, once
I
you
find
kind of.
it-
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you were saying.
Yeah, it's a really cool set piece. Pretty neat, if you will. And the way it kind of wraps up, where Rexy and Blue kind of acknowledge each other, but in a way that animals do, where they're just like after like the day that they had, after what they just went through, they just like they just kind of move on. Essentially, they just go off, go their separate ways. In sort of like a way of like not maybe like either respect or just a way of like they're like, all right, we're cool. All right, catch you later, I guess. Maybe I'll eat you later. I don't know, or something like that. Yeah. What else? I guess like the main thing is sort of like the question of like whether or not the lysine contingency, like mainly in terms of like how that would have like affected like having Rexy, the T-Rex from the original Jurassic Park, in this movie at all. Like it makes you wonder. Like we kind of mentioned that is kind of a bit of a plot hole. Like I mean, you could probably check back at the playback of the stream later on just for further context. There, but needless to say, like. Unfortunately, because of that detail from the original Jurassic Park about the lysine contingency, it kind of compromises whether or not Rexy should be even in this movie, or should just be another T-Rex. That's like just a T-Rex, like whether or not that could just be, whether or not sort of like the sort of thematic of like how people don't want to see like a giant genetically modified hybrid monster thing like the Indominus. They just want a dinosaur, like a straight up normal dinosaur, or normal a dinosaur as you get with a Jurassic Park dinosaur, like the T-Rex that has just been an icon for this franchise since movie 1. Like whether or not the T-Rex needed to be Rexy from the original film in order to get that sort of point across. But other than that, it's a cool sequence. I don't know. Is anyone else?
I think it's the best fight in. Well, I want to say definitely like in the World trilogy, and probably the best dinosaur fight in like the whole franchise, probably. In terms of choreography.
The whole trilogy, the World out of the World trilogy, yes, I can agree with that. As far as like the overall series, I'm not entirely sure about that. Maybe, I'm not sure. Just from a spectacle standpoint, I guess.
Yeah, because there weren't that many fights, to be honest. I mean, even the original, like it's just Rexy versus the Raptors, and then the I guess juvenile T-Rex versus the Spino.
Yeah, I mean, like the T-Rex and the Spinosaurus. That's like a more straight up, just sort of fight, like back and forth between the two. Whereas the Raptors and Rexy in the original was just like a very short skirmish. It wasn't really like there was some focus there, but not a whole heck of a lot. But
I would say it is the best fight, honestly. Like I don't see any competition, to be fair. And as you said, like the briefness of the other two, just in the first trilogy, kind of kill any possibility that you could say those are better. And in Jurassic World trilogy, well, everything's kind of shit after this first movie, to me at least. And the fights don't get any better; like they just get worse. Like,
yeah.
God
Well,
damn it.
we're gonna talk about Dominion's final battle. That was
Katsaibu asks, have you considered the meta-analysis that JW is about genuineness versus cynicism? Omniviewer talked about it in one of his videos. Actually saw someone else post this comment if we've seen his video. I have. It's been a while since I've watched it, but I have watched it, and I get what you're talking about. Who else wants to? I'm trying to fill in the dead air. I don't want people just being like, "Yo."
I mean, what I wanted to say is like basically when Blue came to fight, like when Blue joins the fight, like everyone clapped at the theater. Like even people that were clearly not really dinosaur fans necessarily, that were just there for their kids. Like it's very. I don't even know the word. Like it's just like a really good moment. I don't think that there's anything like that in the entire franchise, unless you count the first time that the Tyrannosaurus technically, by accident, saves everyone. And I think that the character of Blue could have been so much better if it hadn't been completely fucking ruined later on by the story. Like that they decided to go with.
Yeah, I remember being really sick. Like when I saw Jurassic World in the theater and that happened, that was kind of like fuck yeah. That was
not only that, it's like the slow-mo, the way that you hear the way that you hear her steps getting louder and louder as she like starts accelerating before she jumps, like everything is just so fucking good.
No, it's not even footsteps, it's her just kind of going like doing that sort of call there.
Yeah, at first, and then you're like, oh wait, she's alive, and then you see her like with the slow mo. Yeah, but then right as the slow mo is fading out, and you go into normal speed, like the way that the footsteps like accelerate, it's like, I know it sounds like a really small detail, but like being there with all the sound in the cinema, right before she jumps, and like the fight starts again, like that was like basically round two, like like it resets the whole energy of the scene. Like you're like, okay, everything's fucked, but then it's like a rush of adrenaline, like literally.
Yeah, it's a pretty satisfying moment because Blue just kind of like like all the rest of her siblings were killed by that point by the Indominus. Like Blue just kind of got knocked out at one point. So it's like she was knocked out for one moment, and then like next thing she knows, like as soon as she comes back to, she's kind of like, oh, you've done it now, bitch. I'm coming for you. Like you could just imagine that, almost.
And also, it's like for fuck's sake, people with their bags. Anyway, it's like the culmination of her arc. Like it's a wild animal, it's still dangerous, but this is the confirmation. Okay, no, it's not just a killing machine that you cannot trust at all. Like there's a certain level, and it's what cements, sadly, the beginning of the rest of the franchise. But to that point, like I think it was a really good ending. The only thing that maybe I would say I didn't really like was at the end when she looks at Chris Pratt and he like shakes his head for some reason and she just like goes away. Like I didn't really understand the meaning of that part, but like the fact that she like saves him by the end, like I think that's fine. I think that's completely like realistic. I don't think that there's like too fantastical in the way that Godzilla and Kong, for example, fixed stuff by the end of GBK or anything like that. And yeah, no, I think it was the perfect ending. I would have been fine if this was like the only movie that we got for a couple of years. No trilogy or anything like that.
Yeah.
And also, it would have been a nice ending for Blue Story, like straight up, like no more. Like this is as far as it goes. That's it.
Yeah.
I would have been completely satisfied with that.
Yeah. Her story does kind of peter out later on. Like despite getting a fair deal of prominence in the next film, but we'll get there. We will. Yeah, I hate to keep saying this. We'll get there in soon. All right, but it is just one of those things. This is the beginning.
Yeah. The thing is, for this movie, for you to really understand it, you had to be there. Like it makes it sound way better than it is because it has a lot of flaws, but you had to be there in the cinema to know how exciting it was. To me, this is the best Jurassic Park sequel when it comes to entertainment. Okay, when it comes to objective like story, The Lost World is better, like clearly.
Yeah.
But which one would I watch? Like this one or The Lost World? This one every time. Also, like I love that Indominus Rex has this. She has like this kind of weird smartness in her eyes in some shots, not in all of them, but like you can tell that there's something going on behind, the curtain all the time. She's always thinking of something, and that's something that they could only do in the first movie, like with the first Raptors, and they hadn't really done it since because the animatronics for Spinosaurus weren't like that great. For example, like it's something in the eyes. I don't know. I know for some people it may sound like I'm just imagining it, but I really think that they nailed the Indominus as a character when it comes to like the motivation and the behavior, not the super smart parts. Like that's an exception. That's what they did wrong with it, as far as I'm concerned. But like for example, the specific scene that I'm talking about is, when Chris Pratt and Claire are hiding behind that Jeep when they get to the point where the kids have just left. Well, when you look at the Indominus Rex at that scene and she like leaves, I think she knows they're there. I really think that she already knows that they're there and she just wants to like fuck with them for a little bit. And then she gets distracted because of the helicopter. But I don't know. I like it.
It's not even just like she knows they're there. She leaves them be, leaves them a moment of, okay, she's gone, breaks through the wall and they start running.
Yeah, because, and here's the thing, even when I was in the cinema, when I was like a little kid, I was like, she can clearly see them, right? Like, it's not like from that angle, she should see them. And when I was little, I thought it was a problem with the movie, but now I think that's on purpose. I think that's part of what she's doing. Like, she's tired of just killing. She's just trying to, make it a little bit. She's trying to make it last longer, maybe.
Yeah, she's trying to fuck with them. I guess what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, just be like, I know you're there, but I'm gonna make you assume that I don't know that you're there. I'm gonna make you think that you don't know that. I'm gonna make you think that I don't think that I don't know that you're there, but I actually do know that you're there because I can sense thermal radiation.
And not only that, like Chris Pratt, I can see your fucking head. I can see you, right? It's like you're literally right there.
Now, Kasai was asking, could any of you tell that the Indominus was part raptor just by looking at it? I remember Doug Walker knocking on the characters for not noticing that it's we've actually been over that. It's like,
for one, they're not concerned about what it looks like. They're concerned about the fact that it's after them.
Also, again, Doug Walker is not something you should take as a reference for valid criticism. He's
not the most.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you will. I mean, you can find him funny. You may not find him funny, but he's not exactly the most media literate. Let's just say. I hate to use that term, but it is what it is.
He's not the brightest tool in the set. He's not the sharpest tool in the set.
What would identifying it as part raptor How would that help?
I'd say the claws,
Exactly.
actually.
I mean, like
I'd
the
say the
arms,
claws would
you know,
be-
the claws. Maybe
I mean,
maybe the
if-
quills.
I always
up
thought
there.
the head looked a little raptorish.
I mean, the fact being able to identify whether it is or not, how would that help them in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I mean the problem though is like Doug Walker, the nostalgia critic, pretty much says like it's of course it's part raptor. It's like 90% raptor, you moron. It's like how is it
He's trying to
90%
make a joke.
raptor? Are you shitting me?
Yeah, but I wouldn't even blame him because he again. I said this before. He's a comedian first, or an attempt at a comedian, like depending on whether you find him funny or not. And then he's a critic, like third, because in between he's something weird, like I don't know what it is, but
Yeah,
he's a
yeah, I
critic
mean,
third. So
the most
he's
that you
trying
could-
to make jokes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The most you could say in defense of him for just saying like, guys, it's so obvious that this thing is part raptors because of like, well, if you've seen the other films, like, and if you just kind of know how prominent raptors are throughout this franchise, like people should have been able to piece together that the Indominus would be made a part raptor. But it's like, is that like okay? So you could just predict the twist. Good for you, I guess.
Oh, you mean where it's able to communicate with the raptors? He's saying that they should have been able to tell it was a raptor, and therefore it would have been able to
Just by
talk to
looking
the
at
raptors.
it, not even knowing that it can talk to raptors, just by looking at the Indominus.
That
That's what he's saying.
whole thing where it's able to communicate with the
Thanks.
raptors is a massive problem. It's just it shouldn't. Not only is it not a raptor, I mean, people are people, and people can't talk to people. But not only that, but it is antisocial to a massive degree, to the point where it killed its own sibling. So why on earth would it have the social skills to be able to communicate with anything?
Considering it's established as a byproduct, considering most of its abilities are established as byproducts of its genetic code, I think that's believable.
If I genetically engineered myself, I do not, and then stuck it in a cage for all its life, I would not expect it to come out of that cage one day being able to speak fluent English.
Well, I think the thing is you're treating it more as language, whereas like with animals, it's like something that's more instinctual in some cases. Because I think, given that this
Lions
is part
will-
raptor,
There's
it's-
so many examples of animals killing their own kind because they don't recognize them as familial. Like if you could, there's examples of people just putting wolves in. They take a captive wolf, they put it in with other captive wolves, and the captive wolves will attack the newcomer because there's all sorts of social blah-de-blahs to do with wolves that this new one just doesn't have. It's just the
I guess
whole
the main
communication thing is just bad.
Basically, it's
on
like
so many levels.
It's as if you expected me to go to a cat and do meow, and then the cat suddenly says, "Yes, my lord, we will invade Poland right now."
yeah, but
No, the cat won't get it.
cat.
You know, like the
But
cat
if you
won't.
had part cat DNA in you, it'd be a little different story.
Well, we have 90 something% with chimps, but if I go as a chimp and I say, "Woo-ha!" he will eat my dick, like in the bad way.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, I
ignore
mean,
you or
This
kill
just
you.
came out not too long ago about a guy who was talking to the chimps because he made the same
Yeah.
sounds and the same like
But
gestures.
the thing is, you make one wrong sound, and that chimp is going to eat your face. That's
Yeah,
the
there's
thing.
also
the thing is,
you
it's
just said
personally
he
part raptor,
he
it makes
mimics
the right
their
sound.
sounds. He mimicked their sounds. He learned their noises and whatnot, and tried to work out. Like he tried to mimic them. Indominus Rex is antisocial and isolated. How has it had the time to learn Raptor?
yeah,
And not only
especially
that,
considering
because
sorry if I interrupted you.
I don't know. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering that the Indominus has never meets any of the raptors until in the evening when the raptors are sent to hunt her.
There's also, sorry, you go on.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also like sort of the question of like, does the Indominus have like that little part of the the raptor's like skull sort of cavity thing that was kind of like used as a plot point in Jurassic Park 3 of like, it's like, hey, you're blowing this thing, it makes raptor noises. Like that's how they communicate to each other.
Considering they genetically engineered the thing and they somehow accidentally gave it invisibility. they gave it that ability accidentally. They fucked up that hard. But so the idea that it still has that cavity that is the correct shape to perform the noises necessary to communicate with raptors, that's a big if. That's a big
I
if.
wouldn't say
but the other thing I was going to say is that depending on the animal, like one of the examples I give, when you're fighting a or you're coming to encounter a mountain lion, you're supposed to make yourself look big, like you spread your arms out and go at it to make it scared and run away. If you do that to a gorilla, the gorilla's going to pound your face in. If you do that to a bear, the bear's going to stand up to you. But basically, the same
Depends
action
on the bear.
to various different animals will get various different reactions, from making them run away to making them kill you. So the idea that this Tyrannosaurus, raptor, and then all the other dinosaurs that are mixed in with it somehow knows the correct body language to perform, let alone the vocal language, is insane.
That's straight up supernatural, actually.
No,
I'd say
straight up instinct.
Straight up what?
Instinct. You know?
No, sorry, no. That's not.
That's exactly
that's
what
not
I'm
that
saying.
thing.
If your instinct is to do stand up tall, make your arms wide, there's various animals that will react to that by being scared. There's also various animals that react to that by killing you. So then we don't know what the characteristics of raptors and tyrannosaurs are. We don't know if they react to the same body language and whatnot. And the Indominus absolutely would not know that. It would just do whatever. It's just so many hurdles to jump over to make this work. And as far as we know, they didn't jump any of them.
They ran around them.
Oh, Lau's gone.
Lau's gone. I just noticed Lau's gone.
Well, I would still have to disagree. I think the only hurdles would be like explaining that this thing has raptor DNA. The previous films have established that raptors are all about the specific communications and their.
Oh, do you want a really good example?
sounds.
This is a recent one from I don't know if you have heard of the Lore Lodge, the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about the Vinland sagas, because there's two different versions of it that have been written down from centuries past. But the one he found the least believable was the one that had the Vikings communicating with the Native Americans with visual signals. And in the story, it said, we put out a white shield, and the natives recognized that as being a friendly signal, and they spun their sticks around in a clockwise fashion, and we recognized that as being a hello. Like, how the bloody hell did you work that one out when this is the very first time you've met them? And this is people from the same species.
Yeah, imagine you go up to, like, you speak whatever language, like you come from an island that no one knows. You go to a bunch of black people and you copy the N word. You know, like that could have easily happened with the rappers. The V word.
God damn.
That's actually weirdly. That's in Have you read the Dark Tower series by Stephen King?
No, but I want to. I really want to.
There's because there's in the second book, I think it's the second book, there's some time travel stuff involved. And there's a bit where a white guy from the modern age talks to a black woman from God knows when. And he describes her as I can't remember which word he uses, but she says to him, "Why are you calling me that? That sounds really offensive." He's like, I don't want to call you. She's like, "Why don't you call me Negro?" And he's like, "Whoa, I'm not calling you that." She's like, "Why not?" And because she's from a time when that she is called that regularly by people because it was acceptable back then, and then he's from a time when it's not. It's like, and again, a few decades difference, and colloquial language causes rifts.
Yeah, so
And
maybe,
again, we have
like
to lead
the
back to the fact that
Indominus.
this Indominus Rex just doesn't have any communication skills.
Exactly. So it could be an incel for all we know, and creep the Velociraptors out.
Yeah, like
So
I
many
mean, like
examples.
like the Indominus, like, and I pretty much am reading in the chat that the Indominus Rex can't just unlock new abilities, over time. Like it's, like regardless
It
of whether or
leveled
not
up.
it's an issue that coding.
It leveled up and picked the perk.
It farmed too many people.
Yeah, it was like learning a language. It's not an instinct. Like that's like it's like speaking a language. It's not an instinct. It's something you have to learn. Like an instinct is to be like go into self defense for self preservation. As an example, learning a language to communicate somebody else in that language. It's something you have to gain experience by being in the presence of like that other party that speaks that language in order to understand it. It's pretty that should be pretty straightforward as a concept, if you ask me.
It's the Star Trek episode where they speak in metaphor.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, because let's put it this way, like the Raptors, I mentioned Jurassic Park 3, but like the Raptors in Jurassic Park 3, like we pretty much can just know for a fact that these Raptors were able to speak that language because they were around each other for a long enough period of time to where they can get their lingo so that they can coordinate and do whatever it is that they need to do, whether it's hunt prey or to just kind of like understand what's happening, if another one of their pack sort of needs their help, and so on. Like that's how it works. The Indominus Rex has never had any experience with any outside anything of like another species, aside from like just hunks of meat that are just lowered down.
To be fair, even Grant shouldn't have been able to copy their language at the end of JP3. Like that shouldn't have been possible. Because again,
the only reason he did that was because he saw that one that was trapped and it started going. So then at the end, he's just like, well, if I do that into this thing, it'll hopefully sound similar. And I've just thought of another argument. If they explained away Indominus Rex's intelligence by saying, "Oh, we chucked some human DNA in there to try and make it a bit smarter to see if we could make it do tricks or whatever," and that's their explanation for it to be smarter. Would you then accept that it walked up to the soldiers and went, "All right, lads, how's it going? Right, look, we can't be shooting me now. You got to shoot them instead, yeah?"
I think by that point we would just have to wonder like what parts of it's like what organs does it have in it to be able to do that to talk like that.
It becomes a politician.
It doesn't even have lips. The Indominus doesn't even have lips. It can't even.
It farts. It communicates with farts.
You just
have lips on the front.
Oh, you know what if it just used sign language? That'd be kind of crazy.
Caesar is home.
Indominus is home. Greta, I don't know. We'll just come up with a name. Just because, because she heard the name Greta at one point. Just be like, that will be my name from now on.
I will be pancake from now on, mortal.
Because that one engineered guy was eating pancakes.
Oh yeah. By the way, the engineer, the moron that left the door open. We didn't really talk about that part too much. We talked about them going into the cage, being stupid, but then like the escape and all of that. I'm convinced that the guy was like. Let's put it this way: if I had read the novelization, I 100 expect the novelization of this movie to say that the guy is like 70 IQ or something like that. I think that's like so dumb that he
Like I
left the
said,
door open.
that whole situation was stupid.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that scene sort of facilitates the Indominus being able to escape. Which otherwise, if that doesn't happen, we wouldn't have the rest of the movie.
And you know what? I think that it would have been fine if she had just like jumped over. Maybe she grew too much. They didn't anticipate that. She just climbed. Like that wouldn't have been so impossible. I feel.
Well, then I would just beg the question: why was she able to do it sooner? Then we would just ask that question.
Like,
Taco Tuesday.
I'd imagine a sequence where it's like you have biding her time. You just have like in the middle of the night.
It's easy. It's Taco Tuesday, and she needs to go and buy some. Like it's not Taco Tuesday every day. That's why it's on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But like, if we want to be serious, like we did kind of speak about every single thing there is to say about this movie, I think.
Yeah.
Just about.
Maybe mention the lack of certain dinosaurs. Maybe.
Honestly,
like,
I don't. Honestly, I don't feel like that's needed. I've said my piece. I think everyone else has said their piece. So.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, the Dilophosaurus showing up as a hologram was pretty funny, though.
Yeah, that was neat.
Yeah.
I also like
that.
the three-way payoff. I also like the
it's like a neat little moment. It's a neat little moment to have one of the raptors be distracted by another potential predator, only for her to realize, like, hey, wait a minute.
I also liked the payoff with the mosasaur, like the 1, 2, 3 bit with the mosasaur. You introduce the thing, you have it appear again, and then you do it, and then you have it as payoff for the finale.
Yeah, I mean, like the first time, it's like a moment that's supposed to be like really cool, really awe-inspiring moment. I mean, CGI probably could have been a little better, if you ask me, but it's like a moment where you're like, oh, hey, cool, mosasaur doing a neat little thing, eating a shark carcass. And then the second moment, it's supposed to be like, kind of horrific because he eats up a pteranodon as well as Zara. And then the third moment is like a crowd pleasing moment where it just kind of like, okay, Mosasaurus is cool again because she's killing the villain.
The triumph.
Mosasaurus is no longer sexist. Redemption arc.
I mean, for all we know, the shark was female, and we know Indominus is female, so.
Good shark wins.
As well as that one pteranodon, who knows? Maybe that thing also was female.
Yeah, I mean, because the head crest, it's probably looks kind of small, pretty much. So, and pteranodons with small head crests would probably be female.
Hey! No size shaming the pteranodon, dude. Like,
I'm not size shaming, okay?
It didn't choose to be resurrected.
God damn
it!
It's called sexual dimorphism. All right, it's a thing. It exists.
Okay.
Yeah. So for all we know, every single creature that the mosasaur ate was female.
And by the way, like, I guess one thing we could do is like, what would you have like seen after this, instead of like if you would have like something different from what we got? like for the sequel for Jurassic World? What would you
Honestly,
have
I
done?
feel like that's a topic for a stream in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, heck, that could be a topic for pretty much one of the two upcoming streams. It could
Yeah,
be the next one, which would be on Fallen Kingdom. So,
Dominion. I think we could save that for Dominion.
I mean,
Okay.
I guess, sure. I mean, I don't know.
You know-
We'll see. We'll see how it all works out.
Yeah, I probably won't be here for the second one because I never watched it. I
You've
just
never
heard some
seen
things
all of
about it. No, I heard
never
some things. Then I watched some parts of it, and I was like, "This is too bad." Like
You've
for the
never
first
seen
one, it
Fallen
was
Kingdom in full.
no.
Damn.
I only watched the end, and I didn't like it.
Damn.
Yeah. And then I watched the third one. Actually, I watched that one because they got me. The nostalgia rate, it works sometimes even on the strongest soldiers, and I'm the weakest one, so of course it worked. So yeah, and I didn't like that one either.
Oh yeah, Jurassic World Dominion is
Not
gonna
many
be
people did.
Jurassic World
Yeah.
Dominion is gonna be a fun one to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what I think of these movies, subjectively
gonna be
speaking,
discussing
it's going to be a fun one to
extended
talk
series
about.
in that one.
What was that?
Can
Are
you
we gonna be
repeat
talking
your
about the
question?
extended edition?
Oh, I
Are
didn't
we
even
gonna
know
be
that
talking
was an
about
extended
the
edition.
extended?
Yeah. I think the
Yeah.
extended edition had the prologue that was cut from the theatrical version.
Yeah, there's some other scenes as well aside from that.
I've always
One-
said that
one-
that one was better. That's the better version of the film.
Yeah, better, relatively speaking, I guess. Sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
I win the debate.
It's still Jurassic World
Goodbye.
Dominion.
Do you think hog
I have won the
skin?
debate, but you didn't say I have won the debate.
Hog skin? You mean hog?
Hoskins.
Oh no! Do you think Hoskins had a point in enlisting dinosaurs in warfare?
No,
No.
we talked about that.
We talked
Yeah.
about it. Yeah. Yeah.
And part of his character is like he's just written to be wrong, but that doesn't excuse him of existing because it's too stupid, and there's too many people supporting his idea that also in turn need to be also really stupid. So
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, no,
there's
it
quite a bit of
wasn't that
land
good.
shading with that.
yeah, I said in case this person wasn't here that I understand that thematically he's supposed to be the exploitative part of creation and exploitation, but giving that to only one character makes it a caricature. So he's just really bad. He's the only bad character in this movie, I feel. Everyone else is like, either fine or good. There's no one that's like really horrible, only him. And
Yeah,
well,
and-
some aspects of Indominus.
Yeah. And even then, as far as like human villains in the Jurassic series goes, like I said, Hoskins isn't even the worst one. But
Oh,
we'll get to that. We'll answer that question soon enough.
That's gonna be fun.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it's like a good way to kind of start segueing into final thoughts about the film. I guess. Yeah,
Since
Jurassic
I
World.
already basically gave my final thoughts, actually, I would like to say goodbye because I have to do some things right now. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's the most entertaining sequel. I don't think it's the best one objectively, but I still would rather watch this than The Lost World. It had potential to be a good beginning, but that's not its fault that it didn't lead to something good. It has a lot of little flaws all over the place. Some bigger than other, but nothing as bad as the worst we've seen here in the streams, like the GXK or GBK. Yeah, I like it. So goodbye, everyone.
See you,
All
dude.
right, take care, man.
Ah.
Bye.
Have a good one. Are y'all giving our final thoughts now?
I think so.
Yeah.
And also, I think we're shilling. So,
Oh, here we go. Yeah, I mean, well, final thoughts, and then shilling, and then we'll, yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely, I kind of made my stance pretty clear. I definitely consider this to be one of the better films in the Jurassic series. Debatably one of the better written, but I mean, definitely has issues. I won't deny that for even a second. I just don't, but I wouldn't say that there is as many of those as other folks out. Most of its ardent critics out there would consider. So there is that. As far as like entertainment value, yeah, I mean it is one of the more entertaining sequels for sure. In the series, I mean we kind of mentioned that like warts and all, and while how we got there could have been way better, in several fronts. Like it is really cool to see Rexy and Blue team up. Pretty much, it's a cool, pretty neat moment, pretty badass moment. And Owen Grady, he's a pretty cool protagonist. Pretty neat. Yeah, as like between the two legacy sequel things that started this sort of trend of doing a soft reboot of like a ongoing franchise, this film definitely trumps The Force Awakens by a significant margin. Even if both films equally, potentially kind of like sort of created like a Frankenstein monster in a sense, because of like now we kind of have legacy sequels that some are really good or great, even like Top Gun Maverick, and some that are pretty questionable, let's just say, like Exorcist Believer as an example. But yeah, Jurassic World, pretty neat movie. I'd say good, not great. But yeah, could have been tighter, but certainly not the worst that we've seen.
Yeah, that's generally how I feel. Like, this is a movie that I'm fully willing to stand by and defend with my life. I've stated so multiple times, and one that I do hold under personal regard, as stated earlier in the stream. But I am fully willing to recognize that I have problems with the movie. But honestly, I just find this one well, for one, I generally think it's well written, better written than a lot of people say, but we've talked about that, and I just generally get a lot of enjoyment out of it. So
yeah, like the writing is kind of mixed. If we really want to be like as critical of it as possible, which we tend to do. Like it is kind of like the writing is pretty mixed overall, but but
I'm definitely going to have a lot more. I'm definitely going to have a lot more to say on the next two, especially Jurassic World Dominion. But yeah, honestly, I don't hate this one.
Yeah,
a lot of the same for me too. I think I really like it. I think it's pretty good writing wise. Maybe a flaw here and there, but like I've always said, I think the good things outweigh the bad.
All right. And Animus pretty much hasn't seen the movie in a while, so
I think my original opinion of good idea, badly executed still stands. This chat has probably improved that opinion a little bit, although I'd have to see the film again to actually get a proper opinion on it.
Yeah. It's worth checking out. Worth a revisit.
Yeah, especially with the new one on the horizon. Also, I would like to add, to completely change the topic, but today is Akira Ifukube's birthday.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. If it was John Williams, then it'd be a little bit more fitting, but hey, another great composer, so why not?
Yeah. Well, that's that pretty much does it for this stream commemorating the 10-year anniversary of Jurassic World 1. Thank you all for coming on, gentlemen. and chat for stopping by, taking a listen. So who wants to shill, or has anything to shill going forward?
I have things to shill.
Go right ahead.
I have YouTube channel, Minecraft World, Minecraft World 1954. That's my @ or just Minecraft World. Last month, I released my comics final, which is a short snippet of a story that myself and Kaiju Kuru have been working on, which I am very happy with. And I also am planning to work on a Gamera 60th anniversary project, as well as my Nemesis video essay character study. I've decided to cancel the GXK sequel pitch Redux in full. I'm probably just going to be doing the animatic of my favorite sequence, since I won't be able to get it done by the time Supernova releases. And you can also find me on Instagram and Kara, where I have artworks and things, and Blue Sky, where I do stuff. So, yeah, go watch Jurassic World, go watch Gurren Lagann, go watch the Gamera movies. Go read Project Nemesis. Tiamat deserve better, and take care, peace.
And then, I guess for me, if I can go, you can find me on Kaijunot YouTube channel here. And then I guess tomorrow I'm going to be doing a black screen episode with Blackaroonie of a GXK discussion debate. So I guess we can all look forward to that.
What time is that actually?
I think he wants to do it 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh damn! I'm gonna be working around then. Shoot, probably gonna miss that.
I'll probably be able to listen. Well, actually, no. I'm going to be free all day tomorrow, so I could listen.
I'd be interested to know what a discussion on GXK would be like, other than "so this is terrible."
Yeah, especially
I guess it's just like a little discussion.
Yeah, considering you, Vic, and considering Vic, you and Rooney have very polar opposite opinions on the movie, as the Up from the Depths stream showed.
Yeah. So I guess it's going to be a further discussion, like maybe a semi-debate on that. Like, I'm going to be probably doing my best to defend GXK and its merits, and then talking with Blackaroonie about his stuff.
All right. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so is that it, or who's next?
Animus, you have anything to show?
I would love to say yes, but I'm still just tired. I have lots of ideas for videos and whatnot. One of which is going to be on the House of David. Would you believe?
Oh,
the Amazon Prime show.
Ooh,
that's interesting.
But yeah, I might actually do that one next. But then I've also wanted to do a response video to Tarnished Archaeologist, if you know who he is. He does Elden Ring videos by looking at the archaeology and comparing it to real world stuff. He made a video recently, or just made me go, "What the hell?" But yeah, I have lots of ideas. At some point, I might get round to. Oh, actually, Sea Monster, can you say for me? I don't have a cat.
I don't have a cat.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, what's going on with that?
You may find out in either a day or a week.
Okay, all right, I'll keep an eye out for that.
If you're going to use him for slander, I will find you personally.
Well, I mean, I don't have a cat currently, so right now. So I don't know if it's really slander, if it's true. I'm pretty it's libel.
You'll see. You'll see.
Okay.
All right. Well, and this has been your host, the Sea Monster. Once again, thank you all for coming on. Next week, next Saturday, pretty much same time as this, but next Saturday we will be talking about Fallen Kingdom. So that's the next stream for sure.
That one's gonna be fun.
Unless any updates.
Also, I wanted to say, if you guys ever come across either Kaiju Kuru or Atomic Spawn on Twitter or anywhere else, then go give them some love. They're going through some tough times right now. So
yeah, go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Kaiju Kuru and someone else.
Spawn of Adam. It's one of Vic's friends.
Yeah.
One of Vic's friends, and Kaiju Kuru has been on some previous Sea Monster live streams. So
yeah, they're both going through some tough times. So send them some love.
Yeah, do that.
I'll try and find someone's heart to rip out to send to them. I don't know their
Not like that.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, gotcha. Right. Yes. Yes, that was a joke. Yes.
But yeah. Until I guess unless there's any updates, sudden updates, I would have to notify you folks. Next Saturday would be the Fallen Kingdom discussion stream, as we prep for the release of Rebirth. Aside from that, my GXK video has been out for over a week, so if anyone has not been able to check that out, go check it out. It's almost 3 hours long, but I think folks out there, and y'all out here will
also go watch the stream that it references. Zimzilla's Up from the Depths stream on GXK.
Yeah, that too. Well, watch my video first so that it gives you guys a little taste of like that stream. Then watch the stream. Yeah, let's just say whichever one. Unless you want to go the long. Yeah.
We are. Oh no, he's down 2 of them. We're at 4 remaining.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there. I'm not sure what the deal was.
Oh my god.
Oh well. That's okay. We'll pick it back up soon. Don't worry. We're getting there. We'll get
almost there, fellas.
But check out my GXK video. Worked a long time on that one, but it's hope you all will enjoy it. As far as other projects I have in the works, I kind of have softened up my sort of load of potential projects I want to work on. So I kind of cut back a little bit, so I don't want to get loaded with stuff that I want to do. But my next essay video, at least one that will be of a significant project, will be on Nosferatu 2024. Hopefully I'll get that one done, but either by Halloween or at the end of the year. One of those two.
Please tell me you're going to include clips from the streams.
Oh. I'll see what I can do. All right, I will. You mean that one that we keep referring to? Oh yeah, that's gonna go with there's gonna be some clips from there, that's for sure. It won't. I won't guarantee that the video is gonna be 3 hours long like GXK, but it's but hopefully y'all will look forward to how hopefully it'll be a decent chungus, But yeah, stay tuned for any updates going on. Subscribe to this channel. Refer to me to your friends, your family, all that stuff. So we can cover Lil Platoon's GXK video one of these days.
Get it over
eventually.
with.
Get it, John, please.
You want a long man? You want a long man? Get subscribing.
Yes, we got to get longmen going. Got to support the longmen. Us longmen need to stick together. And follow me on Twitter, Sea Monster, KCI. There it is. That. So for any updates. But that just about does it. Once again, thank y'all for coming. We'll see you later. Bye.
So long.